Okay, so TLC audio can be made into audience or participant, whatever.
Thanks for coming out the other day. What did you think about that? I thought it was nice. I'm just doing.
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Si asiste en persona, favor de no conectarse a la conferencia telefónica o Zoom mientras esté en el auditorio y silencie sus dispositivos. Si traducción es disponible, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para seleccionar inglés o español. Se tomarán comentarios del público después de cada punto. Si se encuentra en el auditorio y desea dar comentario, utilice los iPads ubicados en el vestíbulo o complete una tarjeta azul según esté disponible. Si necesita ayuda, localice a un empleado de South Coast AQMD. Los comentarios pueden ser limitados a un total de 3 minutos o menos para todos los puntos de la agenda. El tiempo límite puede ser reducido para que todos los comentarios puedan ser escuchados. Se mostrará un temporizador de cuenta regresiva en la pantalla para cada comentario público. Se asignará más tiempo para traducción al español si no es simultáneo. Si tiene preguntas o problemas sobre cómo hacer un comentario público, llame al asesor público al 909-396-3247. 909-396-3247. Respete el tiempo límite y favor de tratar a los demás con cortesía, civilidad y respeto. De lo contrario, es posible que se silencie el micrófono o que sea retirado de la reunión. Tenga en cuenta que esta reunión está siendo grabada. Al participar, usted autoriza la grabación de audio y contenido visual presentado durante el evento en vivo y da su consentimiento para el uso de la grabación en el dominio público por parte de South Coast AQMD.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to the Friday, August 7th, 2026 Hybrid Governing Board meeting of the South Coast Air Quality Management District. I'd like the incredible supervisor from the LA County, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. If you're able, will you please stand and place your right hand over your heart and join us as we salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor. Faye, would you take a roll?
Mayor Locke Dawson,
here.
Senator Delgado,
Here.
Supervisor Hagman is absent. Supervisor Mitchell,
Present.
Councilmember Nazarian is absent. Supervisor Nguyen,
Here.
Mayor Olmos,
Here.
Board Member Padilla Campos,
Here.
Supervisor Perez,
Here.
Mayor Rodriguez, here. Dr. Rutland,
Here.
Vice Chair McAllen,
Here.
Chair Cacchiotti,
Here.
and then Councilmember Nazarian. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Board members, are there any opening comments? Mayor Olmos.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share. So a couple of months ago, there were some public comments that came through regards to a situation that was happening in Compton at the World Oil Recycling Facility. And because of that, I just want to really thank the staff. There was a couple things that happened right after those public comments came in. We did receive a call from the mayor of Compton. There was a meeting that was attended by Wayne and staff to kind of figure out how do we work together in regarding to communicating to the community of kind of what was going on with this facility. Soon after that, we were able to put together a workshop that happened right at the Compton council meeting where residents were able to attend. I do want to say, I know that you guys have been very busy, but I appreciate you guys putting this in the pipeline to get this done. It was very important to the mayor and to the community and to the council. So it was well received. I have to tell you, the residents had the opportunity to ask the questions. I know that there's more that needs to be done after this, but excuse me, Chair, for the roll call, but I do want to say thank you. There were some other departments, LA County Department of Health was there, DTSC. You had staff from Harvey Mitchell's office that was there as well, so thank you for being there. But I am going to do a roll call because it did take a village to put this together. So I want to thank Carlos Gonzalez from staff, Alicia Lazara, Alicia Reyes, Lisa Tanaka, Bernard Tolivar, Ryan, Dr. Cesar Johnson, who talked about AB 617, Terrence, who was the main presenter. Thank you, Terrence. I know these questions were coming back and forth from you, but you handled it so well. Thank you for that. Victor Yep and Jillian Wing. Again, just my thank and gratitude for giving us that opportunity in the city of Compton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging that. I couldn't agree with you more. I also agree with your statement that there is more work to be done. We all know, as we typically have the opportunity to serve and have our council meetings and our board meetings on weekdays in the middle of the day, that there are some constituents who can attend and some who can't. And so I want to thank AQMD for showing up, and my team will be continuing to work with the city. I think there should probably be an additional convening at a time and space and place, perhaps not at City Council, City Hall, but in community and closer proximity to the impacted area. And so thank you for that. And again, thank you for AQMD. I also just wanted to acknowledge the yo woman and yeoman effort of Wayne and all AQMD staff in being present and working collaboratively with community and elected leaders in the Boyle Heights, East LA community with the catastrophic event that we are all experiencing. I appreciate your presence. And for me, this is yet another example of why this regulatory body is so important to community. I've heard recently, I think my colleague Supervisor Solis announced that maybe last board meeting, the number of members of the public who've reached out to ask for help. Now that people understand upfront and personal the role of AQMD and their role and responsibility in reporting to you community challenges. And so I want to thank you for being there and your consistent presence in showing up for a community that has historically felt unseen, unheard, and disrespected. And so I hope that we will continue to show up for them. So I just wanted to thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Supervisor from the County of Riverside, Manny Perez.
Thank you, sir. And I don't think I could say it better than my colleague, Holly Mitchell. You're absolutely correct. And I think it is amazing when you see or you hear about AQMD efforts. I mean, just the vast amount of area that you all have to concentrate on is huge. It's humongous. Obviously, on my side, my neck of the woods, and I met my intern today, and I'm sorry, it's hard for me to pronounce your name, but if you don't mind, can you state it out loud? Can you state your name out loud? Might come out to the mic if you don't mind. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. But a good one, though, a good one, because I wanna make sure people know who you are.
My name is Siwa Patli Calderon.
Siwa Patli, right?
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful name. I don't know if folks get it. That's an indigenous Aztec name. And not too many people have that kind of name. When I saw it, I'm like, huh, interesting. I studied Chicano studies in college at UCR, and I knew that was an Aztec name. And I wanted to make sure I met her. Now she goes to she grew up in Desert Hot Springs, which is awesome. The fact that she's also an intern here. I look forward to working with her and her addressing some of the issues that we have back home. especially when we talk about dust in the air, which go through Desert Hot Springs on an ongoing basis. You can go ahead and sit down. But what I was talking about earlier is how AQMD staff can be on my neck of the woods and then also be in Long Beach or somewhere in LA or Santa Monica or what have you, addressing those issues as well, all at the same time. That's so hard. I don't know how you all do it. And I think that's the reason why in Sacramento, we have to continue to advocate for this organization. And we have to advocate so that we can ensure that the resources that are needed for this organization are provided, including, well, it doesn't matter to me, it shouldn't matter to any of us, regardless of how the budget is. The budget's never a great budget per se in the state of California. And when it is, we have to fight for whatever is available. But we have to fight regardless. So let's fight every year, whatever it takes for us to make sure that we receive the necessary resources so that we can cover the entire South Coast Air Quality Management District. One last point I wanted to make was that there were some folks from the Inland Empire who mentioned that they like to see maybe more meetings on the Inland Empire. I know it's difficult because of what it takes to do all that, but I think it'd be helpful because of the fact that that's where you have the diesel trucks driving by, you know, coming from the ports, and eventually that's where a lot of the pollution that you see in the air per se is flowing in from the LA area or wherever, from up here and going down to the Coachella Valley. And so I think people wanted to address that. And I look forward to the different tests that are taking place right now back home. And would like to get some results very soon if possible. Thank you so much. And welcome once again, our intern to our office. Please come by. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say this was supposed to be dark in July, so we could go on vacation, but I don't think our staff had any vacation. They were so busy, and we appreciate all of the effort that the staff has put in during this time that we're going through. I just wanted to say that I also represented AQMD at the megawatt charging ribbon cutting for the Tesla semi-truck with staff, which was a good event. Good to see Tesla coming along with their semi-trucks. And also, I wanted to thank Mayor Locke Dawson again for inviting me to one of her events, OMIA Autonomous Vehicles, giving us a demonstration of that. And as usual, Riverside has all of the good tech stuff going on. I appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of photos. And again, following up with Mayor McCowan's comments, the first photo there is a picture and, of course, City of Rivers area of Riverside. Mayor Locke Dawson, that's a Votu's warehouse. Mayor McCowan and myself, Sam and Vasilius. Next. And there's Mayor Locke Dawson with the gentleman who founded a company from Argentina. And there's some of the Voltu Ford pickup trucks in the background. Next. And Mayor Locke Dawson test driving the vehicle in Riverside. Everything's going to Riverside. Next. And this was Father's Day. I called Wayne, and Wayne was out at Palos Fire in East LA. So I drove out there, and that's Wayne kind of in the middle, hard to see with his hat on, directing people. Next. This is our staff. We're kind of encamped right there, Wayne and staff with EPA. They've unpacked all their stuff. That's behind the warehouse on the other side. Next. And so this is Father's Day. This is just a view as I'm about to pull away to go back home. The wind's blowing kind of in the south direction because we're right here. Next. That's the like third, fourth day of the fire. If you can look, that's the fire blowing south, almost parallel to the ground. It's covering some of those apartment buildings where people were still living, just closing the windows. And that's what it looked like. It was massive fire as I pulled away. On that Father's Day, as our staff is out there all day. Next. This is the second cohort of interns we had. And again, that's why we're about 5 or 10 minutes late. We were honoring the interns on the last day here. I'd like all the interns back there to stand up so we can recognize you from all over California and beyond. Great job, great job. So inspired by our future. Next. Marcos. And again, this was a couple weeks later, a few weeks ago. This was our staff on a Sunday, all day Sunday morning. I got there after I, lectured at church. This was Our Lady of Victory Church, handing out flyers, English, Spanish. Actually, Carlos and staff, or I'm sure it was Alicia who it was, would go into the church, and after the priest spoke, would announce to come outside and pick up the flyers. Next photo. And just give you a background, that's the church meeting room on the left. Our staff is there under the little bit of shade you can tell, 90-some degree heat. Next. And that's a picture of the church itself. If you go about 4/10 of a mile past the church is the Palos warehouse. I was there for about half an hour. I said, wow, it's not too bad. All of a sudden, the wind blew in our direction. I almost had to go into the facility and vomit. If we talk about odors and our rules and the smells, when you smell that odor that close, it was so sickening. It finally took about a week, Manny, to get out of my system. And I want to thank our staff for sitting there for 4 or 5 hours that day and other days, smelling that nonstop. As you said, they're out. July was supposed to be a time of rest. There was no rest. So congratulations to our staff and the board members. And any more photos? Is that the last one? Oh, this was exciting. Last week I was at Santa Anita Racetrack. This is the Santa Anita Security. And the gentleman in the middle is Guy Macias, the security guard. Why do I bring that up? As I walked through, I was wearing my little AQMD badge, and I looked at it. All of a sudden, everything changed. Smiles, happy, excited. You're from AQMD? You know AQMD? Yes. How? I just got a car from Replace Your Ride, my Prius. He was so excited, telling his buddies that were signing up. They were asking for an email address. That's the second person I've met in 3 months. I was at a Rotary Club meeting 2 months ago. AQMD, I got my car. Wayne, staff, so many times I hit by people. This guy was so effusive. So thank you very much. Was that the last photo, I think? Or maybe more? Oh, Wayne, if you can talk about this, I'm not going to, I just highlight it. This was Monday at 107-degree temperature in Sacramento. Wayne, staff, Carlos, Lisa, everybody put on the most incredible technology demonstration. If you've been in Sacramento, if you know L Street, kind of N Street right there, okay, they took up the entire street. Then they took up part of the Capitol building on that side. And this was just, I wanted to show you, this was one of the largest off-road pieces of equipment from Volvo. 3 years ago, that little thing that would, plant little trees. This thing's a monster. You can see with the person in the background. But what did they? Wayne will talk about it next. And this was Professor Bleckman from EcoCar 3 from Cal State University, LA. And we give him money to do that EcoCar. So Wayne, I'll pass it off to you if you can talk about that incredible event in Sacramento. People are still talking about it.
Thank you, Chair. On Monday, August 3rd, we had this incredible Clean Air, Clean Solutions showcase. And it was really done in conjunction with Assemblymember Solace and CAPCOA and a large number of the air districts throughout the state of California. We actually had 10th Street, the entire 10th Street on the Capitol lawn filled with exhibits, displays. We had numerous legislative members come through. It was really fun to see the social media clips that were being developed as they were walking through. We had over 500 people visit the booths and visit the different technologies. And it was really exciting. And we have so much to appreciate in terms of our ability to put this on. Nobody else has done this before. And there was a tremendous expression of appreciation and the desire to do this again. Staff was very cautious. And I want to give you an example of kind of what the chair had said about 107 degrees during the event itself. It was from 10 to 2, but we had staff that was in the morning at 4 a.m. getting things ready. But the night before, we had gotten in And when Susan and I walked the street to make sure everything looked fine, it was 100 degrees at 8:30 at night. And so it was extremely hot. And our staff just did amazing work in making sure that everything was set up and could be ready for the morning. So it was a great program. At the end of the program, we said, we're not going to do this every year because we couldn't survive it. But we were thinking about maybe every other year or every 2 years. So it's something that we will look at. We did have an opportunity to actually go on the assembly floor. So I think we have a video. If we could play that video now. And welcome to the first Clean Air, Clean Solutions Showcase.
South Coast and the other 34 air districts in our basins in California, 38 million people. We're protecting the health and well-being of every single Californian out here. Every individual can do something. Every city can do something. Every community group, every faith community, all of us can lead in this direction.
The first ever California Clean Air Day here in the state capitol. I'm so hopeful that for many generations to come, we're going to continue this event to ensuring that the quality of air is always a priority for Californians.
California Clean Air, Clean Solutions.
As a former board member of South Coast AQMD, it is my honor to introduce some special guests today. In the rear, if you join me to the rear, we have in the chamber, we have board chair Michael Cacciati. I think he had to take a trip, but I want to make sure I acknowledge him. He was here today. Our executive director, Wayne Nastri. We have COO Susan Nakamura. Of course, we have legislative affairs Carlos Gonzalez. And of course, Lisa Tanaka, who were here today. Today, we hosted the first ever California Clean Air event in the state capitol to bring awareness in the state of California. And South Coast partnered with local air districts from across the state to hold our first event, a Clean Solutions Technology Showcase. I also would like to recognize air districts from the Bay Area, San Joaquin Valley, Santa Barbara, Monterey Bay, Placer, Sacramento, San Diego, Yolo, Solano, Mendocino, Mojave, and Capcoa. Welcome and thank you for your commitment to protecting community health. And members, you'll get one of these hats in your offices later today. So hopefully you enjoy it, and let's keep celebrating clean air, because as community says, they just want to breathe clean air every day. Gracias. Thank you.
We did take the opportunity to make sure that this was an educational event. We were educating on the merits of AB 2349, which is our air incident response program that is in before the Appropriations Committee. And we're optimistic that that will go through. But that will really enhance our ability on emergency response. It'll really build up our resources, expertise. It'll provide for training. It'll also provide opportunities for other districts throughout the state and the California to brag a little bit. Because I can tell you there is no other air district in the United States that has the capability and the resources that we do. And I'm going to maybe deviate a little because I know we have a special person in the audience who actually knows this firsthand. So I do want to take the opportunity to ask Harry Allen, US EPA on-scene coordinator, to stand up. He is a valued partner. Supervisor Wynn, I'm sure you recognize Harry from when we were at the Garden Grove site. Harry has been with us in a number of different sites, ranging from Tustin hangar fire to the fire incident. He's been all over.
Wait, doesn't he live in a great community?
I think he lives in your community.
South Pasadena.
Yeah, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank Harry for everything that he does with us. We're great partners and really appreciate the resources that he's able to bring to bear and the technology expertise. So it really is a tremendous honor for us to be able to be in this position of leadership when it comes to air incident response. You all get to see that firsthand, or at least snippets of it. It's something that I can't thank our staff enough. I mean, you see it when you look at the dedicated response. You see it when you look at the number of people that were engaged on the Clean Air, Clean Solutions Showcase. On the day that the chair highlighted when we were at Our Lady of Victory Church, I specifically talked to a number of people and asked them not to go. It was Sunday, it was World Cup, and we knew it was going to be hot. And I'm like, you don't need to go. And so many people said, we want to go. We want to be in the community. We want to be talking to people. And it was really so impressive of how dedicated our staff is. And I know I can't thank them enough for their dedication, for being out there in very difficult conditions. But they've just done a yeoman's and yeowoman's job in terms of the work that they've done. So I really just want to express my appreciation to them. So thank you all. I'll talk a little bit more about the incident response for the Palace fire. So I won't go much into that anymore, but I do want to alert the board or remind the board that we do have our governing board retreat coming up. That will be on Thursday, September 10th, and that will be at the Inn at the Mission San Juan Capistrano. And then on September 11th, we'll be having our administrative and legislative committees also there on Friday, September 11th. And again, just want to thank the board for all your support, as well as for staff for everything that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Board members, any more comments before we move on?
Just very quickly,
Please, Supervisor.
Mr. Chair, and I didn't do it justice, so I just figure I need to say it again here. I was referring to an organization that requested more opportunity for engagement from AQMD and in Empire. That's the California Environmental Voters Group. And they like to see more, specifically because of the fact that the proposed ports cooperative agreement obviously would allow for, folks to drive by, and because of the goods movement corridor. And many impacts are going to occur, unfortunately, to a lot of communities in that area. So that's the reason why they're requesting is, as much as possible, meetings, at least one or two if possible, regarding the port sorter submissions, and they want to be heard as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. We'll move to the next portion of our agenda, which is a public comment period. That's the portion of the meeting where you can comment on anything within our subject matter jurisdiction of the AQMD that does not appear in the regular agenda. So we'll give everybody 3 minutes. If you're in the audience, we've got a couple names here. We'll start off with John Dickinson. Please come up to the mic, John. Next will be Dr. Ivy Hilton. Priestless, if you can come up and get ready behind him. Go on, John. You've got 3 minutes.
Good morning. This is my second appearance here. I'm not here to bash the South Coast AQMD. They do a lot of good work, but my name is John Dickinson. I am a certified asbestos consultant in the state of California, and I work primarily in this region. I am here today because the South Coast AQMD compliance staff is enforcing requirements that do not exist in the 2007 version of Rule 1403. They do not appear in the EPA NESHAPS version, and they have never been adopted by this governing board. These requirements appear only in the 2019 version of the 1403, which this board decided not to adopt. However, the staff continues to enforce the 2019 requirements, which they have failed to acknowledge to me or to other consultants, but they continue to enforce these rules. I also have submitted multiple CPRs, which is the Public Records Act, to them since January of this year, asking for the adopted board-approved authority for requirements. South Coast, the AQMD, produced no records showing the authority exists. The district failed to issue the written determinations under the government code, section 7922.535A. Instead, I was directed to an unregulated on for months. Because of this pattern, I have filed a formal CPR complaint with the California Attorney General as of last week in Sacramento. The compliance documents the district's failure to require determination. It is reliance on unwritten requirements and its enforcement of provisions that exist only in the proposed rule. And I want to be clear for the board. This group right over here is who I'm talking about, the ones who do the compliance. These issues, it's not about the field inspectors. The field inspectors do a great job. Most of the AQMD does a great job. However, there is some individuals like Amanda Sanders, who now I know has been promoted to the top of the division. She is the one that we have the most trouble with, and she beat out someone of a 39-year veteran. So maybe you should be looking at these things. She ends up making, according to public records, more than most of the executive staff. They are the reason people are no longer trying to work with the AQMD because of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dickinson, for your comments. Next, we have Dr. Ivy.
Blissful Rising. My name is Dr. Ivy Hilton, priestess. I am here to place the South Coast Air Quality Management District and its governing board on formal notice regarding an ongoing air quality, disability access, and enforcement matter involving the Weingart Tower development in downtown Los Angeles. I previously communicated directly with Victor Yip regarding these conditions on or about July 9th, 2026. I also personally informed Niche that I intended to seek a temporary restraining order, injunction, and writ of mandate. And I asked that this notice be communicated to Victor Yip and Executive Officer Wayne Nostri. My complaints concern overnight construction occurring immediately adjacent to an occupied residential building, including activities occurring approximately between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning with dust, particulate matter, construction emissions, and potential silica exposure. The timing matters. During nighttime and early morning hours, atmospheric conditions can create a stable boundary layer or temperature inversion that suppresses vertical mixing and can cause pollutants and particulate matter to remain concentrated closer to ground level and occupied structures. I have also raised concerns regarding the physical relationship between the construction phases, including the underground podium or other shared or connected structural areas. I am requesting that AQMD determine the actual configuration rather than simply treating the construction site and occupied building as unrelated properties. I was informed in substance that approximately 6 people would have to complain before meaningful enforcement action could occur. I now understand that AQMD may use multiple verified complainants as an evidentiary threshold in certain Rule 402 public nuisance cases, but that is not the same as saying AQMD cannot investigate one complaint, cannot enforce fugitive dust requirements under Rule 403, or cannot act where there is a potential health hazard. Requiring me to somehow produce 6 residents who are awake, available, willing, and capable of making complaints between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning creates an especially serious problem because I have also requested reasonable accommodations based upon disability. I therefore request that the governing board direct appropriate supervisory staff to first review my complaints and actions or instructions taken on them, including all communications involving Victor Yip, Nish, Adam Martinez, Wayne Nostri, and other AQMD personnel. Second, provide an effective reasonable accommodation that does not condition investigation of my individual health and safety complaint upon my ability to recruit other complainants. Third, determine whether 402 and 403 other applicable air quality requirements have been violated by the overnight construction activities. Fourth, preserve all complaint records, recordings, inspection records, photographs, videos, investigator notes, emails, internal communications, meteorological information, enforcement determinations, and metadata relating to my complaints and this property. And fifth, provide me with a written supervisory determination explaining why AQMD has.
Thank you, Dr. Ivy. Next, we have Ryan Calbreth.
Good morning. Good morning. Is Kurt busy today? My name is Ryan Calbreth. I'm a staff organizer with the United Electrical Radio Machine Workers. My assignment is the Green Locomotive Project. Our membership includes the rail crew drivers in the ports and rail yards of your jurisdiction. And I'm potentially going to get pulled away into another meeting, so I wanted to express preemptive solidarity with Earth Justice, EnviroVoters, Coalition for Clean Air, who will be speaking about an item that I won't talk about, so I don't violate the rules of public comment, I guess. But yeah, I just want to reiterate a call for all of you that I've said to some of y'all via Zoom, but I'll reiterate to all of you now. I feel like this body, yes, I agree with you, Supervisor Mitchell. Like it does serve an extremely important purpose. And unfortunately, the board can sometimes, in my opinion, in my view, put itself behind the 8 ball by trying to strike a balance where a balance cannot be struck. There are corporations that operate in this air basin where every dollar they spend on doing the right thing, upgrading their equipment, complying with the law, et cetera, is a dollar that they can't put in their own pockets. And so that creates a big conflict for them. Us in the labor movement and folks in the environmental justice, clean air, public health movements, we're putting our differences aside to stand together and call upon this body to do the right thing and not chase the delusion of being able to have 100% clean air and a happy port business community, if you want to call it that. So yeah, just hoping that you all recognize that reality as soon as possible. And yeah, solidarity with the clean air advocates that speak later. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Calvert. Mr. Chair, that's the last of the in-house commenters.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll go to the online right now, and there's several. Start with Matt Klink. Matt, go ahead, and Farrell's next.
I'd like to speak on agenda item 30, so I'm more than content to wait until that happens, Mr. Cacciati.
Thank you, Matt. Next, Farrell, go ahead. Farrell, you're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, Farrell, and welcome.
Thank you. I want to thank you for all the great things you do, and I'm trying to help motivate you to do another great thing, and that's with Rule 1445, methabromide here in Long Beach. It is a significant issue for the community. It has been released directly into the atmosphere for over 45 years in this community. We are at a process in writing a rule that will mitigate. The community needs that source eliminated. It's technology that will eliminate it up to 99% with a minimum of 95%. This is what we need. It's cheap. It's not expensive. And it is a life-saving issue for people who have been unknowingly exposed to that chemical for over 45 years. It is outrageous, in my opinion, that anything less than that should be permitted to go further. And we need this board to help get that done. To me, my knowledge of the AQMD system, you have never eliminated a threat to the community. You've mitigated quite a few. But mitigation is still a disability forming process to the community who has to inhale these substances. Mitigation can even be viewed as, instead of killing the person, one day you're killing them over a lifetime, but death is still certain from this. And it is so important that the board looks at things perhaps different as we go forward, because more and more technologies are coming available. Some we know of and some we don't. We need to do a better job in protecting the health. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to address you.
Thank you, Farrell. Next is Elise Brulaut, and after Elise finishes, we're going to cut off the public comment general. So if you want to make public comment, raise your hand, because after Elise speaks, we're going to cut it off. Go ahead, Elise.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. My name is Elise Brio, and I am the Community Outreach and Communications Manager at Osego Solar. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works to help Orange County residents access solar energy as well as electrify their homes. We partner with the city of Irvine to provide community education and group discount programs that support local residents in transitioning to cleaner and more energy efficient homes. We strongly support the immediate reopening of South Coast AQMD's Go Zero heat pump rebate program. Heat pumps are an important tool for reducing emissions in our community and helping residents save on energy bills while providing efficient heating, cooling, and water heating. However, upfront costs remain a significant barrier for many of our community members. Rebates like Go Zero make these technologies more accessible, and they help families take practical steps towards cleaner, healthier, and more energy efficient homes. We encourage the board to support reopening this program and ensuring that these types of rebates are available to residents as soon as possible. Thank you for your consideration and for your continued investment in clean air solutions for our communities.
Thank you, Elise. Next speaker is Jan Victor. Jan, go ahead, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hello, hi, my name is Jan Victor Andasan. I am a resident of Carson de South Bay and I work in the Boyle Heights community. I also serve as the thought partner for East LA Boyle Heights West Commerce. And this isn't full about lineage, it'll connect. So please don't cut me off because I know how the process goes. But one, I wanted to say thank you to the boards and also to Supervisor Mitchell on the July 2nd update of the approved 5 million for the air filters that was deployed for Boyle Heights. I know originally it was going to be 3 million and the community is grateful in increasing the amount for the air filters that was deployed. And I want to bring that up because that increase and the partnership that AQMD has built with community is deeply important. And so I want to also shout out the SEEP team that I get to work with in engaging the 617 community of East LA Boyle Heights West Commerce. And while I express my gratitude for the 5 million of air filters that was approved, I want to recognize that there is so much work that AQMD can do within the 617 communities, as well as the communities that have been nominated. A couple of months ago, we hosted a community meeting with AQMD in Ramona Gardens, where one of the CSC members shared, we recognize air filters aren't going to solve everything. They're not going to solve this fire. They're not going to solve all the pollution that affects us, but they are an additional tool to use while we work to get cleaner air, while HMD works to regulate and oversee the institutions, the entities that are harming our communities. And so I'm lifting that up because I know that not all communities got the air filters when they had a crisis. East LA Boyle Heights, Boyle Heights had these resources because of the crisis we experienced. But I want to challenge HMD to think preemptively because these air filters are a tool while we wait and fight for cleaner air and while y'all do your jobs to ensure that we can breathe with dignity. And secondly, that it's not too late to continue to deploy more air filters in the community. It is one piece of the many, many pieces for people not just to live safely in their homes, but also to breathe and live with dignity. And so I am thankful that y'all approved that 5 million that was deployed in a moment of crises for Boyle Heights. I also want to recognize communities in thinking of some of the Riverside San Bernardino communities when they've had crises. Where was that? And how do we make sure we think preemptively and continue to support communities while we get emissions reductions? That's not going to happen today, and it's going to take years and work to do. So thank you for all your work, and I am excited to continue to partner with y'all and engage deeply the community and thoughtful deployment of opportunities for communities to live and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Our next speaker is Alma Marquez, and again, the queue for the general public comment has been cut off. The last speaker will be Joel Berman. Alma, go ahead, please. Alma, you're muted. Alma, go ahead. Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker, Allison Hom. Allison, go ahead, please. Allison, you're muted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi, good morning. My name is Allison Hom. I'm an attorney with Natural Resources Defense Council and also a member of the Impact Project. I'm calling in to support progress made on proposed Rule 1495. Overall, we support Rule 1495 and appreciate AQMD's work to reduce emissions and improve public health. We're encouraged to see the district take meaningful steps in this direction, and we especially appreciate inclusion of capture and control technology requirements, as these technologies have the potential to deliver real and measurable emission reductions. We support moving forward with them. We also appreciate the voluntary limits that were discussed during yesterday's working group meeting on fumigant use and appreciate the district's commitment to finding additional ways to reduce emissions and protect communities. We request that the district stay on track with the proposed timeline. We know that the timeline that was currently outlined has already been delayed, so we really can't wait any longer for this life-saving rule to be adopted and implemented. And I just want to raise concerns around lack of monitoring for this rule concept. There was a really important discussion during the working group meeting around the importance of verifying emission reductions and verifying emissions levels at all facilities across the South Coast. And right now, for methyl bromide specifically, we're relying on only one air monitor to measure fluctuations, and we've already seen over time really concerning spikes. So just want to really lift up community recommendations and concerns that came up during the working group meeting yesterday about lack of adequate monitoring at facilities in the South Coast around fumigation operations. Just want to encourage AQMD to continue taking steps forward on proposed Rule 1495 and just really want to reflect on how we got to this moment in terms of getting to this rulemaking process. It was really because of community expertise and advocacy, raising awareness around methyl bromide emissions. So I'm really appreciative that we're in the rulemaking process right now, and I think it's a really important reflection of community power and expertise, and I hope that we don't slip into a weaker rule concept. I just really appreciate the progress we've made together. I also just want to appreciate progress made on the CAP Plus measures and also raise, recommendations around ensuring that there are clear emission reduction targets long-term for the CAP Plus measures to make sure that we have a clear
That's an item on
understanding.
the regular agenda, so don't talk about it.
Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you for hearing my comments about 1495. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Allison. Next speaker is 909 area code. You're muted, 909 area code, numbers ending 555.
Hello, my name is Ranji George. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ranji, well.
All right, thank you. Good morning, board members. My name is Ranji George. I was previously program supervisor in the technology department at AQMD, and we led the fight for battery and hydrogen technologies. We are pleased that technology which we fought against the establishment is, have been adopted worldwide, at least the recognition. My major concern is first of all, I want to thank the board and the staff for the Sacramento presentation of the advanced technologies, the new technologies. Thank you for doing that and the effort. But I just have a question. Did you mention hydrogen? Whenever we go for zero emission technologies, people in the hydrogen community like myself, I've been advocating at least a 50% mention of both battery and hydrogen. But over the last 20, 30 years, all the hydrogen gets is a 5% mention and 95% is emphasis on the battery. And I've been advocating hydrogen because of the numerous advantages hydrogen can give over time. Given that batteries have to be recycled, we are going to be totally dependent on China as a provider for all the systems across the batteries. And we know that, and still we continue to promote batteries without mentioning hydrogen as the alternative. So I urge you that in your presentation to mention both hydrogen and batteries. And when we set aside budget for zero emission technologies, make sure if it's 50% for hydrogen and 50 for batteries. Otherwise, like the last 30 years, it's always ending up 95% of the funding going to batteries and 5% for the hydrogen. That's why hydrogen is lagging behind. We have lost that leadership in that area. The second point I wanted to make is on global warming. I want to acknowledge Mr. Harvey Edders. He had been advocating to have a conference on global warming. I strongly support that. What are we doing? What are the regional efforts? Can we summarize what are the various agencies are doing to promote the awareness global warming? The federal government has washed its hands off it, but we still have to carry the leadership. We did that when I was in the AQMD. I want to thank my lead supervisors who support those efforts, like Jim Lenz, Gene Calafoto, Alan Loy. They all supported the leadership position of AQMD, even when the feds were quiet about it. So I urge you to put some more efforts to hold regional workshops on this matter and educate the public of the need to continue to fight the global warming crisis. We have seen the wildfires all over the world, and yet.
Thank you, Ranji. Next speaker is Joel Berman. Joel, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Joel, welcome.
Thank you. So I would like to address Rule 1403 and the specific Procedure 5 process that is still problematic. It's better than it was. I just got done with the Procedure 5, and working with Alicia Lewis was much easier than working with any of the other people who I had worked with recently. But they are still requiring items to be put into the Procedure 5 that are not part of the rule. And when you get an email from them, they clearly understand this, because when something has basis in the rule, they literally put that reference right next to what they are asking you to do. If it isn't part of the rule, they don't include that because it's not in the rule. But if it's not in the rule, they should not be forcing consultants to go through this. This is still causing several delays in this process, back and forth. Although, again, with Ms. Lewis, it was a much easier process, and she actually was willing to talk with us. Whereas most of the people I had dealt with earlier, especially Christopher Ravenstein, would not talk to us on the phone. The regulated community is extremely frustrated, and we are now concerned because if I remember correctly, at the last board meeting, you gave the toxics departments the authority to look at and to rewrite 1403. We went through this about 6 or 7 years ago. The requirements that they were trying to shove down people's throats were onerous, and it got shot down. However, most of what they wanted to get into, they started using their frequently asked questions. And the problem with a frequently asked question is that's interpretation. That's not the rule. And if it doesn't say so in the rule, you can't enforce it. It's being very frustrating. And in the long run, I really don't think the board really is concerned about this issue. I don't think the board is really concerned with reining in the toxics department. I don't know why. I wish I could find out why. And as a matter of fact, I will leave a few extra time so that someone from the board can address that issue. Would someone please like to tell me why you don't really seem to want to get involved with this? Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. We have one more speaker, I believe, on the Spanish line, Wayne.
Yes, the number ends in 770.
Go ahead, please. Hey, do you want to tell them in Spanish to go ahead?
¿No? Sí, sí.
Hello. Sí.
¿Habla español?
Buenos días.
Buenos
Mi
días.
nombre es Lidia Corona y yo hablo para recordarles para que, por qué razón pusieron hasta los 14 días las máquinas de monitorear después de los tóxicos. No pusieron los monitores del gas. Yo quiero saber qué lo que pasó. Ahora, ¿me escuchan? Sí, ok. No pusieron esos monitores. Eso es ilegal. No están limpiando debidamente todos esos residuos que hay en la comunidad, porque las trocas cuando las no están haciendo su trabajo, urgencia, para monitorear y poner esas máquinas del gas, en las áreas contaminadas. La,
Señor, ¿ya acabó?
estamos muriendo.
Sí, le podemos.
Yo tengo mi nietecita que murió de 18 meses, un tumor en el cerebro. Ay, ¿ahora qué esperan? ¿Que muera yo y toda mi familia y toda la comunidad? Y también, ¿por qué no? Eso es discriminación. Y también el no haber desalojado a las personas de ese veneno que estamos viviendo todavía. Eso no es justo. No nos están dando respeto ni dignidad a nuestra comunidad y no nos están tratando igual como tratan a la gente de...
Yeah, it's 11:29.
Las estadísticas es que los niños en esas áreas, como están tan contaminadas, no van a tener, mucho menos nosotros los seniors. ¿Por qué? ¿Por la ambición del dinero? ¿Qué es lo que pasa? ¿Qué pasa? A ver, es una vergüenza, un crimen, todas las personas que están sentadas allí no hacen nada. Les están pagando ahí nomás por estar cubriendo el dinero y cubriendo la discriminación y la contaminación que hacen en nuestras comunidades.
She's still on?
Okay, thank
Mire,
you.
si me está escuchando, señora, ese es aquí en la agenda, es el número 29. Y va a haber una presentación de nuestro oficial ejecutivo, Wayne Astry. So, ojalá que tienen tiempo para escucharlo. Gracias. Just put a plug for you, Wayne. I just put in a plug for you.
I'm sorry, Supervisor, I'm having a tough time hearing you. Is your mic on?
Yeah, it is. But what happened was that she was already speaking on an item that's on the agenda. And at the end of the day, we just basically let it go because she was already almost finishing. She's actually basically speaking about item 29.
Okay.
And you're going to present on that later. So I asked her to listen to your presentation.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Supervisor. That concludes public comment. And we'll move right now to the consent and board calendar items 1 through 27. Board members, are there any disclosures for conflicts or anything like
Yes,
that?
there is, sir.
Supervisor Perez, go ahead.
For agenda item number 7 involves a project that will demonstrate a modular refueling station at Sunline Transit Agency in Thousand Palms, California. It is our understanding that, well, I'm a board member for Sunline. Obviously that's the reason why, although I have no financial interest, that's the reason why I have to announce this. And by the way, we appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Supervisor Mayor Lockdown.
I'm trying to figure it out, if this is right, on 8.
Think-
Yeah, item 8, it's included in, consent, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I do not have a financial interest for item 8, but I am required to identify for the record, I'm a board member for the California Air Resources Board, which is involved in this item. Thank you.
Thank you, LA Councilman Adrian Nazarian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For agenda item 30, I don't have a financial interest, but I'm required to identify for the record that I'm a Los Angeles City Council member which is involved in this item.
Thank you, Councilmember.
So
Oh, go.
just to clarify, that's for something that's not on the consent calendar, so.
Thank you. I thought I'd do it now and get it out of the way.
That'll work.
All right.
Just wanted to highlight it.
Board members, any more disclosures? Seeing none. Larry, does anybody want to pull an item on the board? Nope. Okay, Larry.
Consent. Second.
Motion by Mayor McCallum, second by Supervisor Perez. Oh, Carlos, want to comment? Go ahead, please. There's a motion and a second right now.
For discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have any concerns. I just, to colleagues and to the public, I know many times we're focused in on the rulemaking as we should, but for the public's benefit, oftentimes when we're on consent, we don't have the benefit to unpack with reports some of the substantial progress and opportunities that we're making. I wanted to just highlight briefly for the public's benefit, item 5, which is on today's consent calendar, $10 million additional for electric gardening equipment. Over approximately the past 9 years, this program highlighted our commercial electric lawn and garden equipment incentive and exchange program. This program has replaced 13,000 gasoline and diesel powered lawn and gardening tools with electric alternatives. The program is estimated to achieve annual reductions equivalent to removing approximately 8,600 light-duty vehicles from the road. I just wanted to highlight that significance on today's consent calendar. Also, item 6, regarding executing a contract to demonstrate bidirectional charging and grid resiliency through mobile battery energy storage systems. This is a contract that we're going to be considering $300,000 for UCR CSER to test mobile battery energy storage systems. So for our public who's interested in our efforts, mobile battery energy storage systems can provide flexible zero-emission power to reduce peak demand, provide power to areas with no grid power, or serve as temporary power solutions. So we look forward to the good work at UC Riverside to explore opportunities to see this type of effort move forward. Also under item 7 for the public's benefit, we have, as noted by the supervisor, the Clear Skies Hydrogen. It's a demonstration modular hydrogen vehicle refueling station for the public to get more familiar with. Hydrogen refueling technology continues to need improvement to reduce boil-off gas losses, improve hydrogen dispensing capacity, improve reliability. So as noted in our agenda, Clear Skies Hydrogen Corporation will develop and demonstrate a modular deployable hydrogen vehicle refueling station at Sunline Transit Agency using advanced cryogenic pump technology. This, again, we are doing all we can at South Coast Air Quality Management District, and I'm proud to serve as Technology Committee Chair with our distinguished colleagues to really try to forward these type of innovations so we can do everything we can beyond the scope of rules and regulations to being cutting edge and a worldwide leader in these efforts. Also, just to note, item 8, also on consent today, to recognize funds for Clean Cars for All, enhanced fleet modernization, and the Carl Miller State Reserves Program. As noted earlier today by our chair and others about the Replace Your Ride program. Since 2015, the Replace Your Ride has replaced over 15,000 older passenger vehicles, resulting in annual reductions of 45 tons of NOx and 2.4 tons of particulate matter. Replacement vehicle technologies in the program so far are 43% plug-in hybrids, about 27% electric vehicles, and about 30% high-efficiency conventional gas hybrids. Scrap vehicles are approximately 23 years old, and over 88% of the vouchers have been issued to participants at the lowest poverty levels. So again, we sometimes are going through consent and moving on, and I just wanted to make sure we pause for the public's benefit to understand the good work we're doing on the technology front, investing tens of millions of dollars to do everything we can to lower emissions in our region. Thank you, Chair.
Very well, we just thank you so much. And that technology committee is held on the third Friday of the week of the month,
Yes, sir.
and that's at noon.
Exactly.
You know, I'd recommend if you, all this technology stuff the mayor talked about is incredible. And that technology committee is so exciting, I can't even get on it myself. So keep up the great work, Carlos, the exciting programs. I listened in many times.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor to serve.
Yes, I'd like to, okay, now we have a motion by Mayor McCallum and a second by Supervisor Perez. Any more comments? Okay, let's everybody vote. Lock it in.
I think we might have some public comment.
Is there public? I didn't.
No, no.
Okay, hold on a second. There was a hand raised and went down. Now a hand came back up. Let's take one public comment. I see phone 171. Hand just raised. You're on mute. You're muted. A phone beginning with area code 171. Give you one more time. This is your chance to comment on the board and consent calendar. Area code 171. You're muted.
*6.
*6, if you can.
Oh, sorry, I'm waiting still for agenda item 29.
Okay, thank you very much for letting us know. So let's vote again. Thank you, Faye. You did already? We all voted? Oh, very good. I guess again, because there was without a public comment. Passes 12-0, 1 absent. Great, let's move on. Wayne, number 29.
Good morning, board members. We had a chance at the Stationary Source Committee to talk about the Palace fire response. And the desire was expressed to bring this back to the full board so you could sort of hear all of the issues that we were involved with and everything that we've done since that time. So just a little bit of background. As you recall, the Palace fire began on June 17th. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. I recall it because I have the news constantly on in my office. And as we saw the news feed, I gave Jason Lowe a call and said, "Have we gotten a call yet?" He said, "Nope." But he said that they were getting ready for it. So as you all know, this happened in Boyle Heights. It's a 500,000 square foot warehouse. It had the entire rooftop was covered with solar arrays. And this facility contained nearly 80 million pounds of food, meat products, produce, and the like. The Los Angeles Fire Department was the initial responder. They set up the incident command. And if we can go to the next slide. This shows the actual breakdown of the unit. So as I said, this is a 500,000 square foot warehouse. The warehouse is divided into 2 sections. And each section is basically a freezer. You can sort of see in this picture, I think we have some others, that there are racks that go all the way from the floor to the ceiling. As we're looking down into it, you can see that these racks are practically at the roof height. And I say this because part of the initial response to control the fire was to bring in the aerial drops. Because of the solar rays, the firefighters couldn't get on the rooftop. And they were worried about some of the charging that was still going on, even though they had broken the circuit. And so they wanted to bring in the aerial drops to collapse the roof. Once the roof was collapsed, then the theory was you can bring in water from all sides and douse it that way. But unfortunately, because of these racks holding the rooftop, the roof never collapsed in. So if we go to, well, what you can see in this slide was that the refrigerator number 2 was completely destroyed. Freezer number 1 was pretty much intact, but it was obviously impacted with the loss of power, the water, and everything else. So next slide. So when you have an incident of this magnitude, you have incident command that's set up. LA Fire Department initially set up the incident command. This is a picture of some of LA Fire Department's resources. I think there's one of our mobile vans that's right there, the white one sticking out. And we see a number of other organizations' assets that are deployed on this. As you can see, it's out in the open. I know there's other slides that the chair had shared earlier where we had the canopies. I know when we were at GK and Garden Grove, Supervisor Wynn gave us 2 canopies. We were so grateful to not be in the sun. But what I really want to highlight is that in the incident command, you have a number of organizations and everyone is trying to work on their area of expertise. We are considered subject matter experts. We work with US EPA, we work with the county fire department, we work with county health, and we talk about the issues as we see them, what's being done and so forth. If we go to the next slide. So as I said before, on the very first day of the incident, we had in essence been getting ready for it when we did get the call. The concern was expressed about metals, so we deployed one of our mobile vans that has the metal monitor equipment on it. So we were actually able to test for particulate matter as well as air toxic metals. We deployed 2 days, and let me go back to what the purpose is of the mobile monitoring van. These mobile monitoring vans give us a snapshot in time. So as we drive through neighborhoods, we're collecting samples and we're looking at what the concentrations are of the various compounds that we're testing for. So as I said before, on the first night, we were looking primarily for metals. And what you can see is we didn't really see anything outside of the typical range on the metal portion, but particulate matter was very high. And that's to be expected, right? You've got a fire, you've got the smoke. And so that's obviously an issue of concern. If we go to the next slide. So when I talk about the mobile vans going to drive through the area and taking these samples, it gives us that picture in time. And from there, what we try to do is if we're seeing elevated results, we then want to deploy stationary monitors. These are monitors that we would use for regulatory purposes. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to be able to find a site to secure the location of the sampling. Sometimes when we have these incidents and we have to deploy equipment, unfortunately, we've had equipment stolen. EPA's had equipment stolen. And so making sure that we can get a secure site is extremely important. Making sure that we have power, that we can get access to it whenever we need to it is extremely important. In this particular instance, what we also wanted to do to establish community monitoring was we looked at 2 schools nearby. One was Eastman, which is about, I think, 8 blocks from the warehouse. And then the other was Robert Louis Stevenson Middle School, which was a little further away. And we deployed our BAMS monitor looking for PM. And all of this was occurring within the first 3 to 4 days. I tell you that it's important, and I tell you that because we're deploying immediately. And while we're deploying, other assets are being called in. So a little earlier, I talked about Harry Allen from US EPA. EPA also deployed, and EPA, they came in force on Friday night, as I recall. And they were able to begin deploying area monitors. They were able to deploy additional resources around the facility itself. And so that's where we, as part of the incident response team, work together. If they have additional assets that they're deploying, that means we don't necessarily have to deploy. But what we do is we work together, we identify what are the resources that we have, what needs to be deployed, what are the results as they're coming in, and what are some of the other things that are going on. So all of this is going on real time. We're collecting data. We're also looking at what the plumes are. So we're working with the incident command team and trying to provide that kind of resources. If we go to the next slide, please. So as I said before, even on day 1, we saw high particulate matter. What we do is we provide these advisories. We distribute those advisories through our normal process. Whenever we're seeing like dust advisories or particulate or smoke advisories, we issue that. There was some confusion early on and some concern with the fire department in terms of how we did this because we were part of incident command. And I say that because when you're in incident command, everything goes through the Joint Information Center. You really want to coordinate all your communications. But in this particular case, this is an area which South Coast AQMD has sole responsibility for. And this is something that we do every day in terms of monitoring and warning and things like that. So we certainly worked with the fire department and they understood what our responsibilities were. We understood their concerns. We were able to address it. But the most important thing was to get the information out to the community as rapidly as possible. So we had issued a number of advisories. Here you can see that we had issued 7. One of the things that we really try to do is to get the word out. And that's going through the television stations, radio stations, social media, news outlets, all people that have signed up with us. We really work hard to try to get that message out. And I would say that we saw a lot of the media pick up on all of the information. I'm sure you saw the news feeds where they talked about what the AQI was, what it meant, and how people should respond to that in terms of trying to shelter in place. If you have air conditioner, turn that on. If you have indoor air filtration units, stay out of the smoke, things like that. So we can go to the next slide. So the air quality index is one of the key tools that we refer people to. It's one of the things that you may have heard about recently with regards to all the smoke coming from Canada, where people talk about the AQI being 8,900, and you can see 8,900, it's already hazardous. At 300 is extremely high. We did get very high readings for a very brief time during which the fire was active. And you can see that it was very unhealthy to very unhealthy to very unhealthy throughout the times. And you can see in these charts the concentration. And I wish that I could have shown you what happened on July 4th, because July 4th is usually a very high PM day, and it would probably come up to a quarter of what you're seeing in terms of those stacks. So that just gives you the sense of how intense and what the AQI index was during this time period. Go to the next slide. So as I said before, what we try to do is we go in with the mobile monitoring, and then we want to transition to stationary sources and deployment of stationary assets. This is one of the units that we set up at Eastman Avenue Elementary School. That equipment is still at Eastman. We're still pulling information out. And we're still continuously monitoring a number of pollutants from that site. And I want to be very clear. From the very first day of the fire, we were monitoring. We were monitoring for metals. We were monitoring for particulates. On the second day, we were actually asked to look at some additional items, including ammonia, including HF, and we did that. All of those results were integrated into the incident command and reported up to incident command. And again, for those, we weren't seeing extended concentrations or things that were outside of the typical range. We did see occasional spikes, but I think that was to be expected. And importantly, all of this information is put onto the our website. Now, once the fire was knocked down, remember I said that we started collecting information, EPA started collecting information, all that information goes to the incident command. One of the things that we try to do in conjunction with EPA is to get the responsible party to do additional air monitoring. And we want the responsible party to pay for that additional air monitoring. So EPA and us, actually we're talking with the CEO, Greg Lemkuhl, on the Monday after the first weekend, and they agreed at that time to do that additional monitoring. Our role at that time is to oversee, provide technical resource and support. And this is important because it doesn't mean that we're not doing anything, but it means that we are overseeing the work that needs to be done. And I think that's one of the things that we strive to do, and I want to make sure that moving forward in the future, we continue to get the resources necessary to do that. But we understand the appearance that often people are concerned about, which is, well, they're the contractor, then who's really guarding the henhouse? And so what we do is we oversee that work. We do the technical aspect, the technical review. But in addition to that, we do our own monitoring. We do random, unannounced monitoring to look at and make sure that the results that we've seen are comparable to the results that are being obtained, and make sure that they're typical, so that gives us confidence that they're doing accurate measurements. So if we go to the next slide. So as I said before, Terrace is the contractor for Lineage. They set up some additional monitors. Here's a cage where you can see they deployed some of the air monitoring equipment near the facility. This is, I believe, across the street on Union Pacific, near probably Indiana or in that area. But as I said before, the results have been consistent from what we've been seeing and what others have seen before. And I know there was a comment earlier, Supervisor Perez, about when we started monitoring. And one of the comments was we hadn't started monitoring until June 29th. That's not true. And unfortunately, I think at the hearing board yesterday, somebody took something out of context and assumed that we didn't start doing anything until June 29th. We've been engaged since June 17th on the very first day of the fire. And the data that we've collected, we post on our website to make it as transparent as possible. So we go to the next slide, please. So as you know, part of our authority lies on California Health and Safety Code, and it also lies within our rule. And what that means is that for us to assert authority, we need to have cause. And part of that is based on our public nuisance rule, 402. And in order to have a public nuisance, we've determined that you can't have one does not constitute the public, but you have to have a reasonable number. So oftentimes you'll hear people say, well, is that 5 or 6? It is in that range. There's a difference for schools. If a school notifies us, we can do action less than that. But part of the challenge that we saw, even during the onset of the fire, was that we were not getting complaints. And as the fire progressed and as it was finally knocked down, we still weren't getting complaints, even though at that point we were trying to increase awareness through social media and others about calling our 1-800-CUT-SMOG number. Unfortunately, it still wasn't enough. And then there was a town hall meeting, and on that town hall meeting, although it was very raucous, we were able to let people know that we absolutely needed people to call in 1-800-CUT-SMOG. The number of complaints started to increase that night. And I think that got to about maybe 40 that night. And then after that, that was July 12th when we got that increase. But after that, then we subsequently saw a rapid increase in the number of complaints, up to several hundred and more a day. So once we had that, we were able to go out into the community. We've always been in the community. Let me restate that. From day one, we've been in the community. Our inspectors have been in the community. Many of our people have been there from day one. But we were able to go in now with the express purpose of trying to validate these public nuisance. And once we were able to do that, we were able to issue a notice of violation. So then at that point, we issued notices of violation on each day subsequent to that. We've issued now over 25 notices of violation. Now, I want to talk a little bit about timing, because once we had the ability to issue those notices of violation, within 1 week's time, we issued a demand letter to Lineage. And that demand letter specified a number of conditions that we wanted them to undertake. A lot of those conditions were things that had been discussed in the, I'm going to call it the RS1 group. It's the city's incident response type program. It was also based on a number of items that our own team that has extensive experience dealing with odors, dealing with rendering facilities, had put together. And with that, we gave that demand letter to Lineage. And really our strategy the whole time was to try to get to a stipulated order, but we wanted to make sure that they moved diligently and quickly. And that's where we had the hearing board and where we applied to the hearing board for an order of abatement. That hearing board process just wrapped up yesterday. The hearing board granted a stipulated order of abatement. And so the facility now has some very strict requirements that it has to meet moving forward. We're hopeful that within the next week and a half, all of the food removal processes will be completed. And there's a number of requirements that are within that demand letter. I also want to acknowledge the role of the public in the community, of Mayor Bass and others, Senator Durazo and others that actually also provided input. The finalized order of abatement reflected much of the input that we heard from the community, from elected members, and that's now in force. And in fact, you probably heard about it on the news, on the radio coming into the office today. So we continue to be in the community. During that time, we also were at the county libraries and at some of the other locations distributing air purifiers. We came to you for increased authority to get some additional air purifiers, and you granted that. So all in all, I think we granted over 5,000. If you can see in the next slide, it sort of showed the heat map. If you could go back, yeah, that one. Go back to the first three, I think. So this shows what the number of complaints, this is a heat map, and it sort of shows the number of complaints that started to accumulate over time. You saw back on the 3rd, there were hardly any, and on the 12th, it started increasing. Here's showing the 14th, keep going, 21st, all the way through the 31st. So from my perspective, the word definitely got out that people needed to reach out to us. And this shows how over time, we were able to get an increasing number of calls, and that's really what drove the action. And it's something that's so important for the community and the public to understand, is that we need their participation, we need their support to be able to exert our authority. Go to the next slide. As I said before, we issued the demand letter to Lineage. I went through that process. Again, this was moving very, very quickly. You can see in the picture on the right, those are the racks that I described. You see a lot of packages. When we were on site, you would hear little pops, and it was the bags exploding from the heat. It was pretty disgusting. Aside from the smell and the maggots and everything else, it was a very difficult environment. That's really, again, what drove the order for abatement. And as I said before, we just had the meetings over the 2 previous days. The hearing board found to support our order request, and it was issued yesterday. Some of the key provisions. So the chair had talked about the odors. So one of the things that we wanted to try to do was to try to contain that first, the refrigerator unit. And so we had a number of granulated activated carbon units that they had holes into the building. They're trying to keep negative pressure and keep the airflow going through the carbon. That was one of the things that we had tried to do. The other thing that we wanted to make sure that as this process was moving forward, that there was an actual metric for Lineage to meet. And based on their own input, they felt that they could remove 10% of those foods, of those products. And so that was part of it. The other part was to make sure that as they're removing product, they do it from the area furthest away from the community. There was a desire to do it on Indiana, Union Pacific, but we felt that would have created more odors and more complaints. And again, one of the things that we also tried to do, and I'm sure many of you have seen this at some facilities where they have 1-800-CUT-SMOG plastered on the side of the building or on the fence. We wanted to make sure that people knew where to call if they were able to smell this. The important aspect of this too was the Spanish outreach. Everything had to be translated. We had to make sure that we were able to communicate in both languages and to really work with our electeds to get that information out to the community. There were some additional fence line monitoring requirements that were also part of the order of abatement. But if we can go to the next slide. As I said before, we were out in the community actually handing out these air purifiers. So you can see some of our team members. You will see Susan strong-arming some of those air purifiers. You'll see people in our community engagement and air programs. Nearly every division contributed people and volunteers to be there. They were working literally morning through night. It was a tremendous effort on everybody's part to do that. In addition to being there to hand out these units in person, we also are continuing to be able to distribute them online. And so we're encouraging people to do that as we still move forward on that. So as I said before, over 4,500 of those units were distributed. The public engagement process has been absolutely critical. Being in the community, whether it's just going to the churches and talking with people as they come in and out between Mass, or going to community centers, that has been key. Having the ability, having multilingual staff has also been very important for us. Because oftentimes, as you well know, when we're looking at some of the technical issues in terms of the data that we have, being able to communicate effectively is absolutely key. So these were just some of the different engagements. As you can imagine, there was a lot of interest from electeds. Senator Padilla had a chance to visit. He was very interested in our mobile lab and the resources. This truly is something that very few organizations have. And it's something that we have, and we're extremely proficient in its use. So it's really something to be quite proud of in terms of our ability to actually go out and utilize this equipment. We can go to the next slide. So as I said before, all of this waste is expected to be done within the next 2 weeks. We're going to continue our air monitoring efforts, our own air monitoring efforts, in addition to overseeing the work that's being done by Ontaris, and making sure that that data that's obtained is easily apparent and accessible to those with the community. And then we're going to continue to work with the community as always. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Wayne. Great presentation.
Thanks.
Board Member Dr. Rutland.
Wayne, congratulations to AQMD and everything that they did. I thought what you guys did was absolutely fantastic. My only question is, as the resident pulmonary critical care and internal medicine physician on the board, as we were monitoring the levels of PM 2.5 and other organic compounds that are in the air, were we also monitoring hospital presentations? And were we also making aware to the individuals who are treating these patients? Although we didn't get any direct complaints, patients unfortunately don't look at AQMD to complain about their symptoms. They come to me. And I had received plenty of complaints. So I'm wondering if there's a process in place to monitor how hospitals are handling it, or if we give advice on how to handle the consequences of the exposure.
So we don't give advice on how to handle the consequences of the exposure, but we do refer people to what I would consider the appropriate agency, which is oftentimes the county healthcare agencies. So for instance, in this instance, we work with LA Department of Public Health. The issue that you raised in terms of are people being screened, if you will, for, or let me restate that, are hospitals or medical treatment facilities monitoring the number of people that are coming in and reporting out to some organization? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that this issue was raised in one of the town hall meetings that we went to. And Dr. Ferrer from LA County had said that that was an issue that they were going to look into. One of the complaints that we had heard was that a number of people went to like their urgent care, the local emergency, and they were given a Tylenol and told to go home. And that obviously was a big concern to Dr. Ferrer and all of LA County Public Health. So I believe that they're collecting that data, but I would have to check with them, and we can do that and get back with you.
Supervisor Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wayne, I know during the Garden Grove chemical plant issue, we talked about potentially, and I know you've all done so much and has been on it, but we've talked about potentially, I've asked you maybe to look at AQMD needs a van. We need some kind of a unit, just like the fire authority, just like the police, a command center, that you can actually move it where you need to instead of what we're doing right now. And I watched you for 5 days with me under the canopy, folded chairs, and trying to find plugs. And I mean, we were moving as fast as we can. But I think seeing that what you have been doing from one disaster to the next, I think having one or two of these command units would be very helpful to staff to have all the equipment at one site, one area, so you're not going back to the office trying to pick this up and pick that up and pick this up and pick that up to get to create yourself a little table. So if, we talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive. I watch it, and I want to make sure that we also pause and simultaneously, as we're helping the communities during these disasters, we are also looking into the future and how we handle it for our staff as you're going out there one after another. And like I said, I don't think one is enough. I think you're gonna have to have at least two, at least two, because you saw from the Garden Grove, then you went to the next one, and we had several incidents during the Garden Grove around the Southern California area too. So it wasn't just the Garden Grove one.
Right.
So I think if you haven't had a chance to start doing that, as a board member, I'm asking you to, and I'm asking staff to maybe look at something and bring it back to the board for consideration in the future.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. We, in fact, are looking into that. And there's a few things that we're doing on that front. Absolutely agree with you. And again, appreciate all your support, including the food and drinks. Having said that, one of the things that we're actually looking at doing is, one, we do have funds set aside to look at one unit. And so the team right now is looking at what's the best configuration. We said 2 units because there are a number of things that we do that you need different resources. EPA has a Sprinter van, and it was in one of the slides that you saw. It has the canopy that comes out. And I think that's fine for 3 people, but as you saw, we're all under the canopy. We're all trying to do a lot of things. The number of things that we do, like I want to have a big printer on the actual unit so that when we're printing maps for the incident command, we can do that right there. There's a number of electronics that we need to have done. So we sort of see one van that is sort of I'll call it the technical response. It can support all of the things that we need to do. And then I believe we need another van that will support all of the communications work that we need to do. So we're working on those 2. AB 2349, which was introduced by Assemblymember Solace, will provide funding that will in part go to that. So what we'll be able to do is to come back to you all with a plan in terms of what additional resources we need, what the time frame is for that. And, obviously we want to get that started right away. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Board Member Padilla Campos.
Thank you. Wayne, thank you to you and your staff for everything you guys have been doing. I know that there was a community meeting yesterday. I don't know if it's appropriate to kind of get an update on how that went. I hope folks felt good about, hearing all the work that you guys have been doing. So I don't know if it's appropriate, but I wanted to also ask about the monitors that I saw in the 2 schools.
Mhm.
Kids are coming back next week.
Yes, the 12th.
So I assume they're going to be removed. I hope kids are not deprived from playing on the playground because of the monitors. So I'm wondering if they are going to be removed, if you have an alternate location, or what sort of the plan is for that.
Yeah, that's still an issue under consideration, but maybe Dr. Lowe can share the latest.
So we were able to talk to LAUSD and work something out. So the team is actually going out early next week to figure out an alternative location on the school. It looks promising so far, but we have had the support of LAUSD.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about the part about the town hall or public meeting
Yeah,
yesterday.
there was a public meeting yesterday.
We were so focused on the hearing board, I'm not aware of it. Unless you're talking about the hearing board meeting.
I know there was some sort of community meeting because some of my staff live in Boyle Heights and they were
Okay.
tuned in while in the office.
I
And
think
even
that
got
might be
some
the hearing
questions.
board that you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
And that was yesterday and the day before. On Wednesday, they took public comment, and then yesterday they took testimony, and then they ruled. And on that, that's where the hearing board granted our order of abatement.
I think that's what it is, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Lofton?
Thank you. I think Board Member Delgado had a comment before me, though.
I'm sorry, board member.
Go. All right. Well, you know, Wayne, one of the questions I was getting and comments I was getting from various people was that there seemed to be a big difference, and this isn't necessarily AQMD's issue, but there's a big difference in the response between the GKN and the lineage situation, and the assertion was that somehow the GKN was handled well and differently, and this went on for so long, and you saw that in the hearing, I think. And I'm curious, for the public, these are two very different things. Can you please, just for our benefit, tell us why they are so different and why the response appeared to be so different?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Thank you.
So GKN was very different because of the potential for a catastrophic explosion, because the tank of the MMA, the methyl acrylate, could have exploded. And because of that, the impact to the surrounding community was such that the fire department and the public health agency decided that an evacuation was appropriate. And so they took that action. They evacuated the community. And there were a number of factors that were going on during the incident. As Supervisor Wynn well knows, part of it was the monitoring of the temperature of the tank and looking at what was going on inside. And after, I want to think it was maybe 3 days, the temperature started coming down, and they were able to actually go in and look at the tank in a manner that was safe for them to do so. And at that point, it was determined with temperature coming down, with a possible expansion of the tank that alleviated the pressure, that they were able to bring community members back. In my mind, that is the biggest difference between what happened in Garden Grove and what happened in Boyle Heights. And I say that because in Garden Grove, you had an evacuation. In Boyle Heights, there was no evacuation. And that's determined, again, by the fire department and public health. And I'm not going to speak to the decisions that they made in terms of why they made those decisions. I will say that it was horrible. And it still is horrible what the residents literally across the street, I mean, they are closer to the building than I am to you right now, just to give you an idea of the distance.
So, and that's what I was getting at, right? That there was an imminent threat to explosion, which precipitated the evacuation, but powers that be beyond AQMD that were deciding whether those evacuations were occurred determined that that wasn't necessitated in the Boyle Heights situation. So I wanted to make sure that was clarified.
Yes.
Because I heard nothing but good things about you and your team. And I also heard nothing but good things about Supervisor Wen in Garden Grove. People spoke very highly of how quickly you acted. So I just want to let you know, I wanted to make sure we clarified that for the record, because there seems to be a different narrative outside. So just thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have a say in that. We provide our input. And I also, again, just want to acknowledge the role of EPA, because again, they're great partners with us, and anything that we needed, they were able to get. So really appreciate EPA's action. And they were both at GKN, Garden Grove, LA River. Yeah, you name it. We were joined at the hip.
Senator Delgado.
The presentation that you made today, is it possible to get that translated into Spanish and Mandarin?
Yes.
Okay, just, I know that's been one of the complaints is that our materials are not in Spanish, and I just wanted to highlight that, as I think, I know that's not the intention, is not to have it translated. And I just wanted to say, like, the minute this happened, I contacted staff, and they were already responsive, but I wanted to highlight something that, was just addressed, that I was told that there was a county request for how this should be handled, and then there's obviously the city component. So I love that the supervisor of the Garden Grove incident was on AQMD. It made it so streamlined. But I wanted to acknowledge that you had other agencies that you're dealing with in this particular example, and we don't have the power to just go in there and act. So I just wanted to say that out loud, because I know in the beginning there was some pushback about the timeliness, but it wasn't, just an AQMD response. But, and then the last thing is I did want to echo Supervisor Nguyen's recommendation on the
Instant response
emergency.
van?
Yeah, emergency. I would go truck if you could, but, just because I'm assuming this is going to continue to happen as our climate issues continue, so. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that you do not work in a vacuum. And in this particular case, a little bit like El Tadena, there was multiple jurisdictions involved.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that. And our efforts to make sure that material was available in Spanish really ramped up with this incident in particular. We do have Google Translate, so the information that's available on the web can be available in Spanish. But as far as printed materials, I know our communications team worked tirelessly to get everything translated, because we heard that message loud and clear.
Supervisor Nguyen, again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a comment of some of the comments from my colleagues here. She's right. There's multiple jurisdiction, and the cases are very different. In regards to the Garden Grove one, it wasn't easy for the decision to be made to evacuate. It ended up being the largest evacuation of residents in Orange County's history. We had well over 2,000 folks who we had to find shelter for, and not only for them, but their pets and medication. I mean, it was not just the evacuation side. I mean, not just the potential explosion. Then we had to shift and then start opening up shelters. And I dragged my 13-year-old and 15-year-old to the shelter on Friday night at 10 o'clock, past their bedtime, and they're like, "What are we doing here?" I'm like, "You're putting up beds." And they're like, "Okay." So, we were bringing everybody that we can to help out. And so, cases are very different, and, the residents and community needs to know that it's not just the county, it's not just the city, it's not just AQMD, it's not just the EPA, it's not just Cal OES, it's everybody trying to work together. There's definitely a lot of positive came out on how we handled GKN and the Garden Grove incident, but I'm also now reevaluating how Orange County opens shelters. We had a lot of hiccups there. We didn't have available translation for Spanish and Vietnamese immediately. It took us a few days to do that. We didn't think about, if you have a bird versus a dog. And our animal shelter came out to bring in cages. And so you had some birds in pet kennels or dog kennels instead of a bird cage, which really stressed the bird and, the pet owner. So there was a lot of things, and people had medications. Some couldn't get the medication. Some thought they were only going for one day. We ended up 4 days. So we had to get out a mobile unit from the medical side to start getting prescription and refill these prescriptions. So some of those aftermath we're learning, and trying to find out how we can do better. and, and learning from it as well. So there's always, a lot of things that we can all, as public officials, learn from and start making sure that the next incident that we hope never happens again, that we now have fixed some of those gaps. And so again, I know that nothing will ever be perfect in any incident. We up here will do our best and be there, right on time, right at the moment, and do whatever. And I agree, if the van doesn't work, you've seen the RVs. They've got bigger RVs that has multiple, availability also to have private meetings. I know staff had to go to the corner by themselves and have these private meetings, the 3 of them, 4 of them with EPA sometimes. And so, I've seen it. So I wanted just to make that comment. And again, just appreciate everybody and all the staff on all their overtime, willingness on holidays, whether it's the Memorial Day weekend, Father's Day, whatever it is, you are there on site and willing to do it without even being asked. We appreciate it. And also for all the public officials up here and those who represents the community, that you also spent, took away your time from your holidays, from your family as well, to being there to protect and fight for the community. So, that's something I would like to, just a different perspective to remind the community is we're all there. We will be, and we will always be. But it is not just one center command. It will be multiple individuals and agencies coming together. Thank you.
Supervisor Mitchell? Supervisor Mitchell, I want to thank you for recommending we put this on the agenda today.
And I appreciate the full comprehensive report. I may be restating the obvious, but, structural racism and environmental racism is real. We have AB 617 communities for a reason. There are communities that have experienced desperate treatment. There are communities that do have a preponderance of facilities in their communities compared to other communities that put them at harm every day. And so I appreciate this opportunity for us to have this diagnostic conversation. I appreciate the opportunity that we learn from each of these experiences and do better. But I just, really wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that communities have lived experience. And sometimes it's difficult when you live in one of those communities to erase old tapes in terms of how you have directly experienced treatment from your own government. That's a statement of fact as a woman of color. And so I, again, want to thank AQMD and again agree that we know from this side of the dais that it is multiple jurisdictions, multiple governmental entities that have areas of responsibility. And when you are living in this proximity to an environmental calamity, you want answers from anybody fast. And you want to be seen and heard and respected, and you want to have a high level of confidence that you are being prioritized. And so I think that that's important for us to acknowledge. Again, thank AQMD. These are always learning experiences. It is far from over, as you've said, and I think that we will continue to have a proactive opportunity role to play to continue to empower the community with information. I think it was a key point when you acknowledged. We had a member of the public testify earlier about the 6 people that have to bring forward a expressed concern before it triggers a response. And as we saw in your PowerPoint, we've now had upwards of 4,000. I believe that empowered community, informed community is a better community. They're able to better communicate with us and vice versa in terms of what their lived experience is and what their needs are that we can solve for as South Coast Air Quality Management District. So again, thank you for agendizing it and giving us this opportunity to be fully informed from AQMD's perspective.
Thank you, Supervisor. Councilmember Nazarian.
Thank you, Board Chair. And thank you, Wayne, and to your team and to the entire staff for the wonderful work that you've done in a very difficult circumstance. Thank you for your responsiveness also. to my office and to my team and to the rest of the LA City family in trying to address the situation, as well as get us be responsive and get us the information that we need. I wanted to touch on air purifiers for a quick second, but before that, I very much appreciate Board Member Rutland's question that was brought up. I'm not a healthcare expert, so I had concerns, especially since the very existence of this body is to mitigate health outcomes and help preserve life in best possible circumstances as possible. I'm just wondering if there could be some outreach done to some of the local hospitals and clinics to at least gather data, because even though the food residue and remnants are going to be collected, even though all the work is going to done to continue cleaning up with efforts, the residue of what came about because of this is going to remain for some time. The infestation of vermins, rodents, everything else, which will continue to potentially have certain healthcare related outcomes. So I'm just wondering if we can also help in collecting some of that data so that we're better armed and aware for future circumstances as well. That's one, if you'd like to touch on it now or maybe later after the second question.
I think I can touch on it briefly. Similar to what happened after the Eden Palisades fire, there's a ongoing collaboration between various agencies, public health, fire, research institutions, organizations like that. We are part of that. This will undoubtedly be one of those issues. This would be an area where we would look in that type of organization to public health, since they have the direct line into it, but we would be part of the overall discussion on that. And we can certainly raise this issue to that group. For the Palace Fire incident, Mayor Bass also requested the stand up of this committee. So that committee is standing up. In fact, I think they may have just met just yesterday.
Great.
So we'll make sure that this item is on that agenda, and we'll work through that committee and try to provide information to Dr. Rutland and to you and the entire board.
Great.
I'm happy to be involved as much as I need to be involved. It's a lot different when I go to that group as a healthcare practitioner,
Right.
as a pulmonary critical care physician, than when you go to that group. So I'm happy to know exactly what we're looking for. I do know that, so.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Wayne.
Yes.
Second, just if you can touch on very briefly about the dissemination of the air purifiers. Also, the relative ease, this has been something that's been an ongoing concern to some of my colleagues, and particularly one colleague who represents the area, as well as the mayor's office, the relative ease in dissemination and some of the challenges that were experienced.
Sure. So part of the challenge that we have is that the availability of these air purifier units, for the most part, have been through AB 617. And under the AB 617 program, the communities themselves establish their priorities. So for the East LA, Boyle Heights, West Commerce community, they had prioritized long before this incident happened that air purifiers were a priority. So when this incident happened, we were able to utilize those funds immediately to get additional units. Now, there are requirements with the program itself, as you can imagine. So we need to make sure that we're distributing the units in accordance with the program requirements. I know that a lot of people were very unhappy because if they happened to live 2 blocks away, but they weren't part of the AB 617 community, they weren't eligible under our program. But working with LA City, working with other groups, they could have been eligible for that. And that's why we were actually working with a number of groups at different locations so that we could make reference to one another. I think that program worked well. I think that there ultimately was a shortage of units. I know this is an issue that Supervisor Mitchell has been, very out front And in terms of how can we get more of those units, maybe not necessarily as part of AB 617, but part of a stockpile that we can use so that we can distribute in future events. And that's an issue that I raised with CARB. We'll be talking more with other agencies to see if there's something perhaps that can be done, perhaps legislation, because one of the things that we talked about was not just South Coast AQMD funding this, but other cities and other organizations creating a pool, if you will. And so we're going to look into that, report back with Supervisor Mitchell. As you can imagine, right now, we've just been in the thick of things and really haven't had a chance to advance that further, but that's something that we definitely intend to do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Board members, any more questions or comments? Well, just follow up with Supervisor Nguyen and Senator Delgado. I remember a few years ago, we funded a very large mobile home, large van, but was it Breathmobile, right?
The Breathmobile,
For
yes.
San Bernardino or Loma Linda?
It was for Arrowhead. Yeah.
Okay. Ever since I saw that, I dreamed of us having the same vehicle. So I totally support their recommendations. And I mean, it's perfect. That vehicle I almost want to take back, but they've got it. But something like that, even a little office for Dr. Rutland to have in there at the back so we can test the clients. So I'm serious about that.
I know you are. We do have 2 more Breathmobiles that are on the way, that are being developed as part of the AB 617 program. Those will be, I think, delivered to the communities. I'm not going to say which communities at this point because we'll get into that.
Okay.
But we do have more on the way. Okay. And I appreciate what you're saying about having the resources and the right equipment and vehicles so that we can do what we need to do.
That's great. Okay, so there's no more questions here. We have public comment. And because of the hour, I don't want to lose many board members. We're going to limit it to 1 minute, if you can, even less. But let's start in-house, Larry.
In-house, first one is Selma, followed by Antonia Montez. Selma?
Thank you. My name is Antonia Montes. I've been a teacher at Eastman. I was a teacher at Eastman for over 30 years, Eastman Avenue Elementary School, and I'm also a member of Eastside Padres contra la Privatización. Regarding AQMD's mission statement to clean the air and protect the health of our residents through practical and innovative strategies, I say that when it comes to the Boyle Heights, East LA lineage disaster, they have failed. One, they have failed because on their slide, they showed that there were days during the fire where the air quality was extremely unhealthy to hazardous, and they did not in any way recommend evacuations. Even though they're not in charge of that, they can recommend. Also, secondly, regarding the public nuisance, the reason that after June 12th, there was a huge increase in the number of individuals calling was not because of AQMD's help, but it was because Eastside Padres contra la Privatización with ACE.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Selma. No, 1 minute. Selma?
Good morning, everybody. I work in the environmental health and safety industry, and I'm also a previous community member of the Boyle Heights area as well. I'm here today because I see everything that AQMD is doing, and I appreciate their efforts, and I fully understand the position that you guys are in previously due to my experience as an environmental health specialist. And I want to challenge your communication team to do a better job really helping the community understand what your part and role is within this disaster that has occurred, what other officials' roles are within the disaster. Throughout my career, communication, besides mitigating disasters, has been so key to folks who speak Spanish, Vietnamese, and don't understand what is essentially going on, don't understand compliance, and don't understand how VOC levels work, how things that we
Thank you so much for your comments and your suggestions. Next, we have Dr. Ivy.
Yeah.
About the different entity that exists.
Why don't you spend it on YouTube? One's gotta go to 5 10. Look at what things you might want.
But the thing is, who's in charge between them? Is it county today? Is it county not department?
It's not us.
Is it us? Is it PLC?
And we're competing, so we can't not be doing that. We should bring that up.
Yeah.
Because I feel even with the altitude thing, I didn't want to breathe in type stuff.
Agenda item 29 raises a serious environmental justice issue. Mr. Nastri explained AQMD's reliance on LAFD and DPH imminent threat assessments and the need for multiple complainants before certain nuisance enforcement. That framework might produce a disparate environmental justice impact. In communities like Skid Row, many residents are unhoused, disabled, medically vulnerable, and afraid of retaliation or unable to navigate websites. Everyone cannot get online. And if AB 617 exists to protect disproportionately impacted communities and Skid Row residents should receive equivalent monitoring and enforcement protections. At Tower 1A, I have reported a blocked west side egress, construction impacts, HVAC problems in a building with no operable windows, infestations and conditions I believe involve black mold, yet LAFD, DPH not provided an effective response. Environmental protection should depend on the seriousness of the hazard, not whether 6 vulnerable residents can successfully navigate a complaint system.
Thank you, Dr. Ivy, for your comments. Next, we have Sylvia Corona. Needs a translation. 2 minutes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Silvia Corona. Yo estuve presente el día de ayer y estoy muy desilusionada de todo lo que ha estado pasando.
Good afternoon, my name is Sylvia Corona. I was present yesterday and I'm very disillusioned with what happened.
Podemos hablar todos de lo que puedan hablar, pero nadie puede hablar exactamente cómo nos sentimos en esa comunidad.
We can speak about everything that we're speaking about, but no one can speak about what us in the community feel.
Nunca existieron los monitores de gas.
The gas monitors never existed.
Hasta después de 2 semanas los pusieron.
They put them up 2 weeks later.
¿Por qué razón nunca se evacuó a las personas?
Why was it that they never evacuated people?
Es una falta de compasión hacia cualquier ser humano.
That is a lack of compassion towards any human being.
Deberían de ir y, como dijo alguien ayer, y pasar una noche ahí para que sepan lo que son los olores y el montón de moscas que están volando por toda la comunidad.
You should spend a night there so that you can see what the smell is. And as someone already mentioned, all the flies that are swarming and flying all over.
Las ratas.
The rats.
Cucarachas.
Cockroaches.
Todo lo que sea para la polución y infeccioso.
Everything that has started up as far as the pollution and the infection.
Simplemente vayan y chequen cómo está por donde salen las trocas, el cochinero que hay ahí.
You can simply go there and look to see where the egress of trucks are, and you can see the pile of junk that's there.
Podemos hablar del incendio y todo, pero nadie puede hablar de lo que se siente estar ahí, estar viviendo el dolor de las personas.
We can speak about the fire all we want, but no one can speak about what it feels like to be there and feel the pain that people are going through.
Se le ha estado tomando en cuenta más a la ciudad de Los Ángeles que al condado, y nosotros somos parte del condado.
They've been taking into consideration everything else that's going on in the county of Los Angeles, but we are also part of the county of Los Angeles.
Por favor, pedimos justicia.
Thank you.
Derechos iguales para todos los seres humanos.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Sophia Quinones. I'm sorry.
I want to start, all those of us who have suffered family loss due to excite, it pains us. I had to see my sister die. And we are talking about legacy sites of contamination. Your agency failed to have those monitors up prior to this fire or the oil spill. You failed to put out the VOC monitors inside and outside of our homes. Those monitors and those criminal lines that were drawn were done 12 days after that toxic plume was released. Now, we've had testimony that a woman died on Alma and Union Pacific. We need to look at that autopsy. We also understood that a first responder has passed. Why were we not told to have certain blood tests done that other members in cold storage facilities have to take on a regular basis? We should have done.
Thank you for your comments.
We'll go online. Move to online comments. A reminder, there's 1 minute. First speaker is Alma Marquez. Alma, go ahead, please.
I want to say on the record, I'm very upset that our 3 minutes to discuss this environmental catastrophe got reduced to 60 seconds, which could never cover the incredible issues. We're asking you to take item 29 off of the receive and file and direct staff to return with a written report. In lieu of a board letter means no written staff report ever enters the public record. That means we want that now. We want to count for the first 12 days on the record, what was measured and who ordered it and who did not do it. We want names and very specific titles. We want the name of, we want we want you to hold a hearing in Boyle Heights within 1 week. We want you to fix the record. We want you to explain why law enforcement was there in writing. There was 4 sheriff bans and we want to know why. We want the test. The ash tested. We want the chemicals identified.
Thank you, Alma. Next is Christy. Christy, go ahead, please. You got 1 minute. You're muted, Christy.
Hello, good morning. My name is Christy Hernandez, and I'm a resident in unincorporated East Los Angeles. I can't stress how serious this matter is and how the zip codes continue to be an indicator of how our city, our county, and our state responds to these types of community injustices. This is clearly continues to be environmental racism. And we ask, as Alma mentioned earlier, again, to take item 29 off the receive and file. We ask for continuing monitoring for accountability. We still do not have a list of the chemicals that we were exposed to, so that when we talk about all these medical issues that we're facing, we know to give it a name when we go to our doctors. As I've said, our community is resilient, but we're not invincible. And the fact that Lineage did not provide comment before public comment, the way that this meeting has been conducted, I also see inconsistencies, and I'm very disappointed that our community continues to be disenfranchised.
Thank you, Christy. Next is Rosa Niet. Rosa, go ahead, please.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you, Rosa. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, good morning. My name is Rosa Samaniego. I am calling due to the item 29. Lineage and the regulators keep telling us that the air is within acceptable limits, but they're not. Testing for the full spectrum of toxic chemicals that we're actually breathing. Diluted ambience, averages and the basic odor checks do not capture the dangerous real-time chemical spikes created, when millions of pounds of rotting waste is combusting debris and are disturbed. On day 3 of the fire, acute chemical exposure sent me to the clinic for emergency nebulizer treatments, steroids, prednisone. My 7-year-old who's autistic has his whole world shattered. And he cannot go outside because it makes us sick. Testing for broad surface indicators while ignoring key hazardous compounds like hydrogen sulfide, heavy metals, and the peak ammonia surges give us false sense of safety.
Thank you, Rosa. Next is phone number 171, area code. You're muted.
Hi, my name is Yesenia. I'm part of unincorporated East LA, and I'm here to also, as everybody has said before, take item 29 off and the receive file. I also want to thank Holly Mitchell for bringing up environmental racism. I think it's something that is very triggering right now, especially for folks that we have a legacy side and East Side Plus. And this really highlights how we've mentioned in this board, how even in Garden Grove, it has went down as one of the largest evacuation in OC, yet we were not evacuated when we all know, and thank you for bringing up health concerns. We all have immediate health concerns right now. and we were never evacuated. And so I just want to emphasize on that. Also, on the file the penalty case now, there has more than 20 unpaid notices of violation. The law authorizes 40,000 a day, each day separately, giving the date pending. And we want that to file the penalty case now, put an automatic trigger and penalty frameworks as well. And also on the communication, as everybody in person and on right here in Zoom has been calling out, if you establish a communication with the community since before, then we
Thank you very much. Alvaro Huerta. Alvaro, welcome and go ahead, please. You're muted.
Yes, my name is Dr. Alvaro Huerta. I'm an urban planning professor at Cal Poly Pomona. I want to echo what County Supervisor Mitchell argued about environmental racism in this community. Ball Heights, where I grew up in the 1970s and 80s, and also activist Antonia Montes from Eastside Padres Contra la Precipitación, who's also a teacher. The people on the ground, they're the ones that know the issues. The parent that just spoke, they're the experts. This is a zoning issue. This is a land use issue. The focus should not be necessarily on the cleanup, which can be done, and then they'll go back to business. The focus should be on shutting down this polluting facility. It's not just about the facility itself. It's about the congestion. It's about the diesel trucks that emit pollution in this overly contaminated community that is known as Bow Heights and also East Los Angeles. So we must do more than we have done so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Next is Martha Molina. Martha, welcome and go ahead, please. Martha, you remuted yourself. Unmute, please. Martha, one more time, please unmute so we can hear you. We'll come back. Next is Victoria. Victoria, go ahead, please.
Hello there, my name is Victoria. I'm a resident of Boyle Heights here. I work full-time and I have had to use every single minute of my free time organizing for our community just to have the basic right of clean air. Do you know how exhausting that is? Yesterday's decision offers some guardrails, but why do agencies like yours and others wait until a crisis spirals to implement the bare minimum? Even worse, it skips immediate financial penalties for the 19 violations, leaves out calling in federal EPA for backup, and fails to track some of the toxic runoff that is still occurring. When polluters walk away without facing consequences for past damage, who are you truly protecting? But thank you for highlighting the issues in the system, because I do think that it really has awoken me and many of our community. And I don't think that we will stop fighting until communities like ours do not have to fight uphill for basic safety. So thank you.
Thank you for supporting us. Next is Martha Molina. Martha, welcome and go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. I grew up near Union Pacific. I'm a 40-year public servant, always worked in the East LA, Boyle Heights area. I now live in Santa Ana. Thank you, Supervisor Wen, for all the efforts. I live near the Garden Grove catastrophe, and we were waiting to see if we had to be evacuated. So it's a stark difference between how this, Orange County is treated versus Boyle Heights. It's been so bureaucratic using this one map that was determined when people tried to get air purifiers that was based on zip codes and not based on need. Also, just in terms of communicating with the community, Protect LA Now was created for this particular issue because the community was not receiving information. You don't get it through social media. People in the area, we're now created a WhatsApp option for people. That's why you're seeing the 4,000 calls now, because now the community itself has helped to inform itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ana Gonzalez. Ana, go ahead, please. You're muted.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Ana Gonzalez, Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. Want to echo everything that community members have said. 1 minute is not enough. It should be a Brown Act violation to cut people's comments this short. Anyways, Boyle Heights and neighboring communities have been subjected to decades of toxic pollution from rail yards, industrial facilities, and other sources. This is why we always fight against warehouses being so close to communities, because this is the result. We want to demand that this board declare a public health state of emergency and encourage your partners at the county and other cities to do the same, to bring local to unlock additional resources, expedite response efforts, and signal the gravity of the situation. We want a full report of the data of all the VOCs and every other toxin that communities have been exposed to. And this is y'all's job. Like, thank you for all the guardrails, but we need to do more.
Thank you. Next is, it just says iPhone. Go ahead, please. You're muted. iPhone, it's your turn. Please unmute. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead. We can hear you.
Oh, hi. Good morning. My name is Cynthia Rios. I live maybe half a mile from the Lineage warehouse. I just wanted to say that this keeps being minimized, even though we have reports from like UC Irvine that they're calling this a hotspot from ammonia. I want to know what happened on the first 12 days, what was measured and what wasn't, and who was supposed to order it but like failed to do so. I remember yesterday Jason said that they went outside to start measuring the smoke and the quality air when it was safe to do so. And I quote, he said he started to do it on the 29th. So I live here and they said it was safe to be in the house, in my home, to shelter in place. Yet you guys said it wasn't safe until the 29th when you started measuring the air and what was going on. So clearly that is a contradiction of what everything that is going on and what you guys are saying.
Next is Honorable Eddie De La Riva. Eddie, you're muted.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Good morning. It's Councilmember Eddie Del Rio in the city of May. We're standing here in solidarity with my brothers and sisters from the east side. Here to ask that item number 29 please be removed off as a receive and file item. Asking for an automatic trigger in the penalty framework. Any missed removal rate, any monitoring failure, any exceedance should be a violation. I'm asking that please file the penalty case now, as the law allows for up to $40,000 per day. Please test the ash, name the chemicals, let us know what's in there, clean up the homes. Please do what's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eddie. Next is Al Sattler.
Hi. My sympathy to all the people who are still having to endure through this. I'm sorry, I'm not having to endure it personally. Anyway, I had a real question about what the air purifiers are purifying out, whether they're HEPA, whether they're activated charcoal, what. So I hope that you could address that once the public comments are done. Bye.
Thank you, Al. Final speaker is, just says iPhone again. Go ahead, please. You're muted still. Please unmute.
Hello, my name is Lorena. I live half a mile away from Lineage. We're asking the AQMD to hold a community meeting in Boyle Heights within the next week. As you previously acknowledged, these meetings made a meaningful difference by keeping residents informed and engaged. Why were they discontinued? You also mentioned ammonia spikes. We ask that you clearly explain what those spikes mean, their potential health impacts, and what risk our community may have faced. We further request comprehensive testing of the dust and transparent reporting on those results so residents understand that what they have been exposed to. Our community deserves answers and the opportunity to protect our health. My 2-year-old was prescribed an inhaler after this whole Lineage disaster. She was having breathing difficulties, and many other children continue to struggle. Every family deserves clean, breathable air. If protecting the public's health and the basic dignity of breathing clean air is no longer your priority, then we ask that you step aside and allow leadership that will fight for this community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Board Member Rutland.
We hear everybody's comments and we are here to help with lowering emissions, and we understand the health effects of some of the molecules that are present in the air. From a medical standpoint, there are so many different molecules that we all inhale on a daily basis that activate an inflammatory response, which leads to a lot of diseases that we see every single day in our clinics and our ICUs and all of that. My motivation was to understand those conditions and be able to recommend therapies for those conditions. We have scientists on our team, and their job is to understand all of the molecules that are present. I want to assure you that we are studying this, but I also want to ask you for patience. We have learned so many things over the course of times. The warehouses that you guys speak of, those warehouses, most of the time, were there first, before the communities were put there, and before we understood the consequences of some of the emissions, before science had an understanding of that. I don't want anybody to think that we're putting things there to hurt people, because we are not, right? We are here to help people. I am here to help people. And I can assure you that we all have these discussions on a daily basis to make certain that your air is as clean as possible. And I'm also here to make certain that people in the communities, especially the AB 617 communities, as a Black man myself, people in those communities have access to the care and therapies necessary to reduce that inflammatory response, which leads to disease. So I just want to assure you that we are working hard to deliver this for you. This is what we do. We understand that we're trying to build a team that is responsible and working together collaboratively to make certain that you guys are healthier and that we're healthier because we live in some of those same communities. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Rutland. Well said. Please, please keep your comments. Before we move on, talking to Manny just for a second, it seems like everybody wants AQMD to do everything, and we can't. If we can somehow delineate what our responsibility is in some of these emergency catastrophes, with either 10 or 15 agencies that appear, so we don't have all 15 responsibilities on our shoulders. AQMD was created, next year will be 50 years, to protect public health in this community by technologies, demonstrations, measuring what we're breathing. That's what our charge is. We're limited. But you can tell, Wayne, because again, I understand, I frustrated too sometimes when the Altadena fire was there. So when what are we breathing? Well, I can't be public because I'm going through the unified command. So your hands are sometimes tied. If you can kind of explain that to me, because I was calling you because I was breathing that really bad and it's affected my breathing. We can tell what our responsibilities are in these situations and how maybe we can't do everything.
Do you want me to do a write-up, or are you?
Just a brief overview now, if you can, and maybe board members have other thoughts too.
Sure. So we are subject matter experts, and our role is to implement federal standards. So the work that we're talking about right now, emergency response, there are very few agencies, local agencies, that can do that. We are one of those where we have the benefit of having subject matter experts, PhDs, MDs, scientists, engineers. I mean, we have tremendous resources. But when we are activated to join an incident as part of the incident response, depending on the role, we integrate primarily as subject matter experts on air quality. And our area of expertise is defining what the air quality is, defining what are the needs to assess that air quality, to look at modeling so that we can predict what future actions may be that may direct certain outreach activities that may impact the firefighting activities. We provide that information. That is our role. Part of what we also do when we're integrated to Incident Command is that you're bringing together a lot of different agencies. And the primary goal is to speak with one voice, a unified voice. And oftentimes you'll hear us talk about either Incident Command or Unified Command. The Unified Command is where all these agencies agree to work to one another. Their information is routed through the Joint Information Center. We have public information officers from the various groups. All of those people work together to make sure that the information is being put forward to those that can utilize that within the structure. And then that information is disseminated to the public. As far as our role to prohibit certain actions, we do not have that authority. We do not have that role. We provide information related to the items that I just spoke about. We can put together perhaps a written document that maybe more fully explains what our formal role is.
And we even with pictures showing who's got responsibility for what, because we don't have responsibility to evacuate people, do we?
No.
Okay. Also, before I go to the supervisor, I was down there on Father's Day, just a couple of days after the fire started. I saw EPA unloading their equipment. I saw you there with staff working all day, so I brought you a sandwich and a drink. You wouldn't even drink it because you were jumping around. The mayor's calling you for a press conference. Fire department's coming over to grab you. It just felt, when did we show up, Wayne? There's comments here that we weren't there till late June or July, late.
I don't understand where the comments are regarding the 29th.
Yeah.
As I said before, on June 17th, which was the start of the fire, we received calls that very day. We deployed staff that very day. And as I said before, we were monitoring for metals for PM on that first night, and we provided those results. The results, as I said before, at that time, other than elevated PM, everything else was in typical ranges. On the next night, we were also requested to go out to look at metals again. But in addition to that, we were also requested to look at ammonia and HF. HF was a concern because of the number of lithium ion batteries is the power source for a lot of the forklifts that were being used inside the facility. The EPA, especially Region 9, has a lot of expertise in dealing with this issue. But in our instance, we didn't see any. That was reported back to the fire department. And then on the third day, that's when EPA was able to mobilize, and they were able to deploy a number of stationary programs, equipment. We did secure the Eastman site, and we, in addition with EPA, in addition to our equipment, they also deployed some further equipment. So there was a canister that was to have been deployed, I think, on that very day. So that would have been, I think, Sunday. Right, Jason? Sunday? Saturday or Sunday. But my point being is that information was being collected from day one. As I said before, we transitioned from deploying our mobile lab to, once those stationary assets are deployed, we pull back. And then we rely on the information that's being generated. We have a say in terms of what technologies are being used, what methodologies are being used, and we oversee the results that are obtained. Part of the challenge that we as an agency have is making sure that the responsible party is also doing their part. And in that particular case, that means hiring a contractor to do additional air monitoring. That's important because once EPA demobes, we want to make sure that the facility is already responsible for and already implementing that monitoring program. That was one of the things that I know we talked about on Monday with the CEO of Lineage to make sure that they were going to continue that monitoring. So Dr. Lowe and his team were then beginning work in terms of identifying what additional methodologies we wanted to utilize. We were also then instrumental in identifying, I believe it was 6 other sites throughout the area to do additional monitoring throughout the community. Now that data that is being generated is on the Ontaris website. All the data that we generate is on our website. We provide links on our website to the data on the Ontaris website data. I've looked at all of those data, so if anyone wants to know what it is that we've done, it's on our website. It's on the Palace Fire. You can look it up. It should be right on the banner on our website.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez.
Very quickly, someone else brought it up earlier as well, a young woman that spoke to the point. I think you're sitting way back there. That's right. And I think we brought it up here in the past, and our chair just brought it up again. And the truth is that people do not know the differences within the organizations that exist. We've been hearing that already so many times, and I'm not sure why we haven't addressed it. Whether it's a document, whether it's a form of outreach through our website, whether it's newspapers, ads, TV, it needs to be addressed. It keeps coming up. And until we address it and educate people about what's the role of AQMD versus the role of the Public Health Department for the County of LA versus Cal EPA versus potentially the business itself or versus anybody else that's out there, people are going to continuously bring up these concerns, and rightly so. So we have to spell it out. We have to define it so that people are not confused. And mind you, people are still going to be confused. I get it. But we need to do everything we can to lessen that. At the end of the day, we do not enforce. We don't have that power to enforce. And I know some of you want us to enforce it. Some of you are talking to the wrong entity right now if that's what you want us to do. But we'll hear you out. We'll hear you out. And it's important that as you come here, that you also go to the other entities to talk to them about enforcement. And that's important because we need to make sure that all these other entities that form this.
Let him finish.
We all need to play, we all play a role together.
Manny, finish up.
Yeah, we all play a role.
If you are willing to be removed from the meeting, please continue.
I'm just trying to address the question by stating the point that all these different groups play a role.
If we're unable to continue the meeting in an orderly fashion, we will clear the room and continue the meeting without the public here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to address the point that we need all these organizations to play their role. And once they do, I think that we can finally get somewhere. But until then, it's going to be difficult. And I sense your frustration. I get it. I hear it as well in my neck of the woods, not specifically on these issues, on different issues. But that's the one thing I keep bringing up as well, our communication efforts and the different organizations that exist and what their role is.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Mitchell?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to share that the County Board of Supervisors submitted a letter in support of AQMD's petition for order of abatement concerning the ongoing cleanup. And as I've watched the two hearings yesterday and the day before, I'm clear that fines are handled by our legal team and that by statute, all fees collected must go to the AQMD General Fund. However, the board can direct staff to direct these funds to specific communities and programs. And so I also want to ask that we expedite the resolution of the notice of violation penalties tied to this case and ensure those funds are directed back into the impacted communities as soon as possible.
I second that.
I want to thank you. So I just went on the website and pulled it up, and right there at the bottom, you scroll and it's 2026, Palos Fire, Lineage Cleanup and Recovery. Scroll down. You've got different sections you can click on. You've got, so people are arguing we're not there, they can find it right here. Community air monitoring, when we're first out there. Contractor data and oversight, Palos Fire mobile monitoring, odors and enforcement, residential air purifiers. And I want to thank your staff for volunteering their time on weekends, on Sundays, all day, on holidays to be out there handing those out personally. Additional resources. So it's all on our website to refute any type of claims to the contrary. Board members, any other comments?
Mr. Chair,
yes.
if possible, if I could get a response to my request with regard to the notice of violation penalties. I don't know if staff wants to respond now or how that can be handled.
Are you able to say anything?
Yeah, we can work on that, Supervisor. Obviously, that's often a lengthy process, but we'll do what we can in terms of getting it back before the board. If you wanted to come back before the board in terms of how that would be handled, that's something we can most likely do.
Well, I think I just would like clarification. Is my understanding as I, reviewed the statute, that the board does have the power to direct staff to try to direct the funds, not just into our general fund, but into the impacted community. So however we can follow up on that, I'd appreciate that.
There's a couple of ways we could do that. You know, often we do supplemental environmental projects as part of a resolution that does not need to come before the board.
Okay,
That's one option.
okay.
Another option would be to have any funds that were received come to the board so that the board can direct it. So,
I
it's
guess
not gonna-
I don't necessarily need, you know, the board can weigh in that it come to the board. I just wanted to be clear that from my perspective, it shouldn't be autopilot that it goes to the general fund, that we want it directed to the impacted community. And if that can be done at the staff level, great.
Supervisor, I think by statute, the funds have to go into the general fund.
Okay,
But we can come back and say, this is the amount of the settlement.
yep,
And the board can direct us, we want to do this with those funds.
excellent. That would be my ask.
So, I'm
And
sorry,
to clarify, if the funds go into the general fund, that's the case, but there also is the option to do basically a supplemental environmental project, something like that, in which case the funds would be going to something else and would not necessarily go into the general fund per se. I don't mean to split hairs, I just
I got it.
want to try to.
I got it.
Mr.
I think that the point I'm trying to make is it is my desire as a board member that the funds ultimately find their way back to the impacted community. That's
But
just
I
what I
would
wanted
also
to clarify.
add, Supervisor, and obviously Chairman and my colleagues and staff, in a timely manner. Like, as quickly as possible. You know, because they're being impacted today, not 5 years from now, or 4 years, or 3 years for that matter. So I don't know what that means, I don't know what that looks like, I don't know what we've done in the past when it comes to something like this. But I'd like to see if possible, how soon we can get these funds out to the community.
So Supervisor, you're correct. This could be a lengthy process. And we're certainly not going to make any guarantees in terms of how fast this can get tied up in the courts. So I have a big concern that I don't mislead you, the board, by saying we can do this quickly. I don't know how fast we'll get it done, but we will move as expeditiously as we can, and we can provide updates to the board in terms of where we are.
Additional letters of support for the petition?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Board members, any more last comments? Seeing none, move on. Just for management and rest of the meeting, Wayne, because I don't want to lose any board members. 30 is one on the ports.
It's an important one.
It's an important one. 31, 32, 33. Is there anything we need to do right away? Any thoughts on managing the last four items? Because we have a lot of people that testify in the ports. Some of the others might be quick.
We need to do all the rules. They're just trying to decide which is the most important. I would say, let's do the SIP updates for PM. SIP update for PM. Do that one first.
32?
Conferring.
Ports it is.
Okay. That's item 31, item 30 right now, Ian.
Good afternoon, good morning. Sorry, we're going to shift our focus geographically a little bit south to talk about the ports.
Excuse me, sorry, just, Board Member Nazarian mentioned it before, but I just wanted to reiterate and under abundance of caution that he doesn't have a financial interest, but he's identifying for the record that he's a council member for the city of LA, which is involved in this item.
Thank you, Bate.
All right, thank you. I'll try to be quick on my presentation. I know a lot of people have other thoughts they want to share too. So as you all know, last year, we brought before the board a cooperative agreement with the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach that really focused on zero emission charging and fueling infrastructure. That was going to be done over a phased approach, or it is being done over a phased approach in a 5-year contract. As part of that, we were directed to go back and see what else can be added to this contract. That was a very huge thing that we did back then. It was landmark. But is there anything else that we can put on this? So it's not everything that we work on with the ports. The cooperative agreement is important, but it's only one piece. We know that we have to take this incremental approach to get the emission reductions that we need. And it's really that first step, that existing cooperative agreement on charging and fueling infrastructure. That second step we're working on is right here before you today, some additional measures. We know there's a lot of other ongoing efforts that are completely separate from the cooperative agreement, a lot happening there. And we really are trying to get to those long-term emission reductions, but it's all anchored on that first step. We've had a lot of public process along the way in just less than a year, 5 public meetings, going back to Mobile Source Committee several times. The ports have done their own public process as well. All of that feedback has really informed the negotiation between the parties. We've iterated on drafts, and that's what's before you today is that final iteration. Our focus really has been on 4 main things, right? Not everything fits in this cooperative agreement, so we know it's only a 5-year term, so it has to be near-term actions that are there. This is a contract between parties, so that the specific parties need to have a role. The ports, AQMD, we have to have a role in all of the measures, but we know the public has a critical role as well, so we built a lot of public process and engagement into all of the measures here. Again, there's a lot of things happening outside of the cooperative agreement. Okay, so what is in the agreement itself? 2 main pieces. There's the preamble, and the preamble really includes just some administrative items. It's a contract. How do you fit all of this back in together? And then there's a point to some of the other work that's happening that are not enforceable measures, but we think they were important to mention. So that's included in the preamble. Specifically here, there are 3 measures, 2 on incentives and that the ports would carry out and 1 that AQMD would carry out. Looking to the preamble, there are some specific actions that are in there that were originally proposed as measures, enforceable measures, but they didn't really fit in that framework I described before. But it's work that is going to continue to happen from the ports, and they wanted to mention it here. And we're going to continue to work with them on it as well. So there's a number of studies for ocean-going vessels. It's really going to help inform some of these next steps to get emission reductions there. The ports have their clean truck fund, and how do they spend those funds? That's a piece of this. And then also cargo handling equipment, how to deploy that zero emission equipment on what timelines. And that's very specific to every terminal. So laying out some of that. So again, there's a lot of work happening in these pieces, and then a lot of other pieces I'll touch on in just a little bit. Okay, getting to the enforceable measures that are included in the addendum before you today. One is this Clean Ship Incentive Program. So there's a global program called Environmental Ship Index that is getting updated to version 2.0. We're hoping relatively soon over the next few months. Once that it's updated, the ports would develop or enhance their incentive programs for ships based off of this global program to try to reward those cleanest ships to come to our ports here. On the zero emission trucks, they also provide a lot of funding already out of their clean truck program. That funding largely goes to offset the increased purchase price of a truck. This instead would be on a use basis. So for example, maybe on a per trip basis, they would provide an incentive to zero emission trucks going to the ports. Our role in this is enforcing to make sure that the measures that they put forward here actually occur, and that they actually develop these measures, that they conduct the public process as they say that they're going to do it, and that they implement what they said they were going to implement. I'm not going to go through all the details here. We know that transparency there on the top right is a really important thing. What does that look like? It means that they have to have specific metrics. So they have to report out on that to the public. On the bottom left, public process, again, they need to reach out to the public, and it's not just community. That's a very important voice. It's industry. It's local government. It's ourselves, right? To be able to weigh in and shape these measures that the ports are going to bring forward. And then we know that the best laid plans, sometimes things happen. So there have to be ways to course correct. So we built specific provisions in there that in case something happens, that maybe some time extensions might be warranted. There's processes for that. Program reevaluation, and then if things aren't working right, we can enforce based on the contract. For the measure coming to us, this is based somewhat similarly to an MOU that came before the the MSRC, Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Committee, where the ports are each going to provide to South Coast AQMD $20 million, and that would be for off-port regional charging and fueling infrastructure for zero-emission drayage trucks. So we would administer those grants on behalf of the ports. The ports, of course, have a Tidelands Trust responsibility, so we've made sure that that's taken care of in this. And then we also have provision in there for cost recovery. Administering funds like this are time intensive, take a lot of staff work, so we just have a little bit of cost recovery in there as well. Okay, looking to moving forward on public process, we've heard a lot of concerns about what does this look like moving forward. The way the cooperative agreement is set up, as well as this addendum, is that the ports are the ones leading the policy making, right? They are developing the measures, they are leading that policy, so their public process gets at that policy making. Our role as AQMD are really status updates. How are the ports doing? We report that back to Mobile Source Committee twice a year as part of this. That includes things like reporting on what are the potential emissions benefits of the measures the ports are putting forward. What are the past emissions and air monitoring trends? There's data that's reported annually on that. And then what is that overall need in emission reductions from the ports, from the entire region? How does that context all fit together? And that's really to help provide that context for the board, because we are supposed to come back before the end of this contract in 2030 and figure out what the next steps are. So we're trying to provide that context along the way. We'll be coming back to the full board as well once a year starting in 2028. Okay, there's some issues that have been raised throughout this process. One of them that we've definitely heard a lot about is wanting to have some certainty on emission reductions. Are there emission reduction targets that can be put out there as part of this cooperative agreement? What we've said, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're taking an incremental approach. We need to understand what is that infrastructure picture going to look like before we can figure out, okay, when and how many emission reductions are coming forward. So we're really focusing on that first step as part of this. When looking at the regional infrastructure measure, we've heard concerns about the cost recovery, saying that perhaps we should just eat the cost. Well, that has to be paid for somehow. And so it's traditional with all incentive programs that there is a cost share portion there. And so we're looking at up to 10%, which is less than what we do for other programs like Moyer. And we'll do it on a billing basis. So if we do less than 10%, we're only going to bill less than 10%. And then finally, I want to spend a little time on this one on looking at, well, what else can be done? This is just ships and it's just trucks. What about the other source categories? There is a lot happening outside of this cooperative agreement. Back in June this year, this board just approved the first tranche of Invest Clean. That was more than $100 million in projects for on-port switcher locomotives, cargo handling equipment, and infrastructure. The month prior, the board approved 4 zero-emission tugboats down at the ports. The ports have all of their own funding that they're doing as well. For example, Port of LA has $400 million plus from an EPA Clean Ports grant to get at cargo handling equipment and et cetera. So there's a lot of work that's happening, and those incentive funds really get that nearer term action. And so there's a lot of work that's happening in that space. There's a lot more that I'm not going to go into here, but not everything fits in this cooperative agreement. Okay, with that, I'll conclude here asking the board to make the appropriate findings under CEQA and then to authorize the executive officer to execute this addendum to the cooperative agreement. And happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Any questions, board members? Board member Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick clarification. I saw one of your slides. You talk about a maybe twice a year check-in through the Mobile Source Committee. How does that differ from what I think the advocates have asked for in terms of a 2028 kind of mid-process check-in? Do they differ?
What we had heard was that there'd be another decision point in 2028.
Got it.
And what has already been specified last year, the board already directed us to bring that decision point at the end before the contract is over in 2030. What we did add, though, based on a lot of that feedback, was extra information that really is critical to the public and to the board on what are those emissions trends, what are the monitoring trends, what is that overall need. We've added those extra bits in here. That's in the board resolution.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor Wing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just pleased to support this and to see that the progress that's been made so far. And I want to thank, again, AQMD staff and also the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles, and the community for continuing to work together and for your commitment to improve air quality while also keeping our ports moving. And so when appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I will move the item.
Thank you. Supervisor Mayor Ramos.
Just very quickly, you mentioned the 40 million for the regional truck charging fueling infrastructure. What's the timeline on that? Is it like a phase-in approach or?
What would happen with that specifically is that there would be an MOU, a separate MOU developed between the ports and ourselves. We're looking to bring that back to the board, going through tech committee no later than February. I know we're trying to get working on it as quickly as possible. And then that would lay out those details about how to spend those funds. Can we use existing solicitations already? Do we need to do a new solicitation? That affects all the timing. So that'll be worked out in the next few months here.
Thanks, Ian. Member Padilla-Campos.
Thank you. Ian, just really quick, the update that you just mentioned right now, are we going to be hearing how through this cooperative agreement, we're seeing emissions reduction? Is there going to be a specific report on that?
We'll be reporting on the expected emission reductions from each measure as it's approved. We'll report on that. And then we're also reporting every year the ports develop their own emissions inventories that we review. And those will be reported out as part of that as well as the overall emissions from everything at the ports.
And this is through Mobile Source and then also to the full board?
Once a year to the board, but Mobile Source Committee twice a year. The full board starts in 2028 because we want the cooperative agreement to kind of get chugging a little bit.
And I also wanted to piggyback on what Board Member Perez was saying about, I've also heard a request from the Inland Empire to do some community engagement out there. Hopefully that's on sort of the plans to do in the near future related to the port. So just wanted to highlight that as well.
Vice Chair McCallum.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You know, this cooperative agreement builds on one of the most consequential agreement this agency has reached with the ports. These new measures move real dollars into zero emission truck infrastructure and incentives while the broader infrastructure plans continue to take shape. I think it's worth reflecting on how far we've come. We started with discussions around a potential indirect source rule, and what we have in front of us today is a cooperative agreement that's brought the ports, this agency, environmental justice organizations, industry, and labor to the table around a common goal. That's a real evolution and it speaks well of this process. Staff have run an extensive public process on this, 5 public meetings, 6 office hour sessions, and multiple committee updates since December. When stakeholders raised concerns about transparency, staff responded by extending the comment period from 30 to 45 days. I know some stakeholders want firmer, enforceable targets built into this agreement now. Staff's view is that the infrastructure planning must come first, and I think that's the right order. What's in front of us today are near-term, action-based measures that complement that work. And when it's appropriate, I'll second the nominee or recommendation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Rutland.
It just really one question. As we develop the tracking metrics for these incentive programs, can we distinguish deployment from actual utilization and then connect utilization to measured emission or exposure reductions, i.e. better health outcomes in the communities along those freight corridors?
As far as the metrics that would be put forward for every measure, that would be for the ports to decide as they develop the measures. So they're going to be receiving feedback like what you just mentioned or other feedback on what are the appropriate metrics. We will be bringing back to Mobile Source Committee, hey, here's what that measure is, here's what the tracking metrics are. But getting to your point, even if that is not included in their measure, we do that analysis of potential health outcomes in 2 different overarching studies. One is during our air quality management plans. As we develop those, that there's a lot of work that we look at as far as health impacts there. And then also during our multiple air toxics exposure study, MATES, we're in our 6th version right now that's underway currently. We do a lot of look at all of the toxics as well. And that looks at kind of an all-in approach, which for health, really, you really need to look at.
Thank you, Ian. Any more questions, board members? We'll go to public comment right now, and I'll let Larry kick it off.
We have,
Podium.
17 or 18 speakers here in person. First is Adrian Grande, followed by Fernando Gatan.
Yeah, good morning, Chair Cacciati, members of the board. I'm Adrian Granda, Director of Government Relations for the Port of Long Beach. We're grateful to be here today in support of staff's recommendation to approve this addendum, which enhances zero emission infrastructure commitments approved late last year under the cooperative agreement by the ports and the district. This addendum was developed through a robust public process and further solidifies the partnership between our agencies by identifying specific actions that will be taken over the next few years to reduce emissions from port-related operations, while also ensuring transparency and accountability. 40 million is being committed by the ports for regional charging infrastructure through this addendum, in addition to enhancements to our successful trucking and vessel programs. Long Beach remains committed to various programs and administers beyond this agreement as well. We continue to make progress on developing our phase 1 infrastructure plans for terminal equipment and trucks, working with industry, labor, and community partners, and initiating that public process. We look forward to shifting to the next phase, focusing on implementation and action for the benefit of clean air and healthy communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Fernando Gatan, followed by Dory Chandler.
Good morning, Fernando Gaitan with Earth Justice. A year ago, this agency decided to pivot away from regulation, and it was touted that this was an opportunity to bring quicker relief to communities surrounding the ports. That promise is being tested today. Port operations are obviously multimodal, and solutions have to be so. While drayage and ships are touched upon in this addendum, we support those, of course. There are several categories that are left unaddressed. We have additional recommendations that we submitted in a letter. We urge you to take a look at those and consider them. We strongly urge you to use this moment, this process, to unlock additional resources now instead of later to address those additional port sources to bring true relief to the community as promised when this process was adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. Next, Dory, followed by Robert Loya.
Good morning, Dory Chandler, a policy advocate with the Coalition for Clean Air. Since the beginning of these conversations, community has asked for real, quantifiable, surplus, enforceable, and permanent emissions reductions, consistent with the existing commitments in MOB01 and the 2022 AQMD to secure port emissions reductions. Our ask remains the same and will continue to do so as long as emissions from the ports remain flatline, or as we saw last year when port emissions increased. You must not relinquish your authority to regulate emissions today and ensure these measures are leading to actual quantifiable reductions. This district is putting the region's largest single source of smog-forming pollution in the driver's seat today. Please don't push off this discussion. Today, the board should correct the deficiencies in the CAP Plus measures by giving each of the measures a target number of emissions to commit to. Staff should come to the next governing board meeting with how many real quantifiable emissions the infrastructure and CAP Plus measures will give. Work with ports to create safeguards for our at-berth and commercial harbor craft efforts in the face of federal inaction.
Thank you, Dory, for your comments. Robert Loya, followed by Jessica Alvaranga.
And once Robert Loya is finished, we're going to cut off public comment. So go ahead, Robert.
Thank you. This is an abbreviated statement because of the time constraints, but good morning. Thank you, Chair and board members. My name is Robert Loya. I'm the CEO of the Harbor Trucking Association, the biggest single drayage association in the country. On behalf of our West Coast harbor drayage carriers, we strongly support approval of the cooperative agreement addendum. Our members are committed to clean air, but zero emission technology only succeeds when infrastructure and economic realities align. Operating zero emission trucks remains significantly more expensive than traditional equipment. This agreement directly addresses the gap by committing $40 million to regional off-port charging and creating the drayage trip incentive utilization incentive program. In an environment of volatile freight volumes, rising costs, these meaningful utilization incentives give carriers all sizes the certainty to invest rather than the red tape and unfunded mandates. This agreement offers practical solutions that accelerate zero emissions deployment while keeping port cargo moving. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Robert. Next, Jessica Alvarenga, followed by Matt Dickinson.
Good morning, Chair Cacciati, board members. I'm Jessica Alvarenga, Government Relations Director with SSA Marine. SSA Marine is one of the largest marine terminal operators. We manage container, conventional, cargo, and cruise terminals across the United States and the Americas, and we have multiple operations at the ports of LA Long Beach. I'm here today to express our support for the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement between AQMD and the San Pedro Bay ports. This agreement reflects one of the key reasons the San Pedro Bay ports have been successful. Government, industry, and the ports have been working together to address complex challenges through collaboration. The original cooperative agreement created the framework for developing comprehensive zero-emission infrastructure plans. The addendum builds on that foundation by outlining practical next steps, including expanded clean ship incentive programs, incentives to support deployment of zero-emission drayage trucks, and a significant investment in regional charging and fueling infrastructure. These are meaningful steps that reflect an important reality. Cleaner technology cannot succeed at scale.
Thank you for your comments. Matt Dickinson, followed by Ashley Jackson.
Hi there. Thank you for taking the time, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Matt Dickinson. I'm the Sustainability Manager for Phoenix Marine Services, Pier 300, Port of Los Angeles. FMS supports item 30 and the continued collaboration and collaborative approach. The terminal operators are already moving aggressively towards zero emissions. At Phoenix, electrification is becoming a fundamental part of equipment and infrastructure planning. And as of a month ago, the company has committed to procuring 0 new diesel-powered pieces of equipment. Moving forward, infrastructure is the critical path to make this a reality at the terminal. And for those reasons, Phoenix Marine Services supports item 30 and encourages the board to approve the proposed addendum. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matt. Ashley Jackson, followed by Dr. Ivy.
Good afternoon, Chair Cacciati, board members, and South Coast AQMD staff. My name is Ashley Jackson, and I'm the Inland Empire Regional Organizer for California Environmental Voters, and I'm also here at the Port ISR Coalition, and I'm coming from Moreno Valley today. I wanted to highlight a lingering gap with the Port Cooperative Agreement that I hope that the board and staff can work to address more, which is the geographic accessibility for our Inland Empire residents. As Supervisor Perez and Board Member Padilla Campos mentioned earlier, which I really appreciate hearing, and thank you once again, we'd like to see more engagement opportunities with our IE residents, and I'd love to see our IE board members also help champion those efforts for the IE as well, so that we can help put us on the map. We deserve to have the opportunities to come to these in-person meetings. It's a lot to try to travel out to Long Beach and LA for our folks. And so I would love to see more community efforts out here in either Riverside or San Bernardino County. So I would ask if we could have at least one meeting per draft session. I would really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley, for your comments. Dr. Ivy, followed by Matthew Hamilton.
I support meaningful zero emissions measures at the ports, but environmental justice requires more than projected regional improvements. Low-income communities like Skid Row already face cumulative exposure from diesel emissions, construction dust, silica poor ventilation, disability, homelessness, and inadequate enforcement. At Tower 1A, residents have no operable windows while major construction continues next door. Regional AQI numbers cannot tell us what people are actually breathing inside individual units or at street level. Before determining that no new environmental review is necessary, I ask the board to require localized monitoring and real transparency. Every household in an impacted residential building should have access to a purple air monitor or equivalent real-time particulate monitor so residents can document their own exposure instead of relying exclusively on distant regional monitors. Los Angeles is trying to end homelessness, but at whose peril? Housing people indoors cannot come at the exposure of their health. Please require household level monitoring, cumulative impact review, enforceable mitigation, and relocation.
Thank you, Dr. Ivy. Next, Matthew Hamilton, followed by Sarah Wiltfong.
Good afternoon, AQMD board. My name is Matthew Hamilton. I'm the Director of Sustainability at Houston Terminals in the Port of Los Angeles. I'm here today to express our support for the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement. This cooperative agreement and the addendum are great examples of industry, the ports, and regulatory agencies collaborating to drive meaningful change while remaining flexible and acknowledging the reality of the situation that EV charging and clean fueling infrastructure is the critical bottleneck and greatest potential limiting factor in the ports achieving our highly ambitious zero-emission goals. YTI is proud to call ourselves the owners of the largest electric fleet of top handlers in the country. And as we continue to grow our EV fleet as a whole and implement charging stations necessary to power and use this zero-emission equipment on a daily basis in order to realize the health benefits and emission benefits to the local community and our labor force, we find ourselves in an interesting situation where we will be effectively out of power by the year 2028 for continued electrification, emphasizing the importance of alleviating all delays and
Thank you for your comments. Sarah Whitfong, followed by Lisa Wonder.
Good afternoon, Chair Cacciati and board members. My name is Sarah Wiltfong, and I'm here with the Supply Chain Federation. We represent ports, warehouses, transportation, retail, labor, and other key parts of the supply chain. The Supply Chain Federation is pleased to support the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement between the South Coast AQMD and the ports of LA and Long Beach. This addendum recognizes that achieving cleaner air requires not only ambitious goals, but the infrastructure necessary to make those goals achievable. By advancing zero-emission infrastructure planning, expanding clean vessel incentives, encouraging greater use of zero-emission trucks, and investing in $40 million in regional charging infrastructure, this agreement supports long-term emission reductions while maintaining the efficient movement of commerce. It also demonstrates the value of collaboration among regulators, ports, industry, labor, and communities. We respectfully urge your approval of the proposed addendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for your comments. Lisa Wonder, followed by Ryan Kelbrith.
Good afternoon, AQMD Board. Lisa Wonder, Director of Environmental Management at the Port of Los Angeles. When the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the Port of Long Beach, and the Port of Los Angeles came together at the end of 2025 to approve the cooperative agreement, we committed to come back with additional CAP Plus measures to encourage the transition to zero emissions at the San Pedro Bay ports. Through additional extensive collaboration and public outreach, the addendum before you today follows through with that promise, adding 3 additional measures into the cooperative agreement. As stated by staff, the draft addendum to the cooperative agreement is not meant to be inclusive of all environmental efforts taking place at the ports. Instead, focusing on specific measures can be implemented within the term of the agreement. The ports and the South Coast AQMD continue to advocate for additional emission reductions through many avenues outside of the cooperative agreement, including providing direct funding for zero emission equipment, securing and implementing grants at the federal, state, and local level, conducting feasibility and other studies, and investing in.
Thank you for your comments. Ryan Kelbrith, followed by Leah Villarreal. Ryan isn't here, I guess. Leah Villarreal.
Good afternoon, AQMD Board. My name is Leah Villarreal. I'm the Sustainability Project Manager for APM Terminals Los Angeles. We are here today in support of the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement between South Coast AQMD and ports of LA and Long Beach. As a marine terminal operator here in San Pedro, APM Terminals LA is fully committed to decarbonizing while also uplifting global trade and our local communities. This addendum builds on a successful collaboration of advancing practical solutions, including support for zero-emission container handling equipment and investment in charging infrastructure. We respectfully urge the board to approve the addendum. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Marvin, welcome, followed by Alexis.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon now, Chair and board members. Marvin Norman, CCAJ and San Bernardino resident. I guess a year ago we were here and we were starting down the path of this cooperative agreement, as we call it, instead of the rule that we had been hoping to put forward at that time. So I know at the time many of us were concerned, and that, especially as we move forward, that by the time it passed into this agreement, that it was going to see the escape hatch is right there. So at least we haven't seen that get hit, that either party hit the escape hatch yet. So hopefully we keep this up. And obviously this is moving forward. And so we looking forward to it. Also would echo the comments made by Ashley about and others about making more availability of these meetings and this information for residents in the Inland Empire, as it is very hard to get out to Long Beach for these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin, for your comments. Alexis Correa, followed by Jacqueline Moore. Alexis? Jacqueline, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair McCallum, and to the board members. My name is Jacqueline Moore, Vice President of the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association, and I'll keep this short, but I'm here today in support of the addendum to the cooperative agreement. This is real partnership and real engagement, and you can further see that here today with industry of our members here present to lend their support. We're all familiar with the immense emission reductions over the last 2 decades, reducing over 90% of diesel emissions. And this addendum keeps that progress moving forward. Responsibly, it builds on transparency, public input, accountability, and enforceable commitments, while still leaving room to adjust when circumstances genuinely fall outside of our control. In our view, this is what a workable agreement looks like, one that advocates for cleaner air without losing sight of jobs, ensuring supply chain reliability and the port's ability to continue to complete.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next, we have Natasha Avila.
Hi there. Good afternoon, Chair Cacciati and members of the board. My name is Natasha Villa, Senior Manager of Public Affairs with the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association. PMSA represents the ocean carriers and marine terminal operators operating on the U.S. West Coast, including the ports of LA and Long Beach. I'm here today in support of the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement. What's made this partnership work is the willingness of AQMD and the ports, as well as input from industry and community through the public process, to sit at the same table and work through hard problems together. The original cooperative agreement laid the groundwork for zero-emission infrastructure planning at the ports. This addendum turns that groundwork into action with real investment in infrastructure that this transition depends on. You can put the cleanest trucks and vessels in North America on the water and on the roads, but without the infrastructure to power them, that technology goes nowhere. We respectfully ask the board to approve the proposed addendum. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for your comments. Sophia?
I'm here to talk about the wrong kind of green and the green trucking program and the total elimination of minority trucking companies across the country. When I look at this, I look at the decertification process that is controlled by Caterpillars and Cummins. The lifespan of a vehicle is what should be measured. If they decertified it every 10 years, yet that engine would have lasted 50, what is the carbon footprint of that vehicle? The other thing is the money. Grants from AQMD and grants from CARB, millions of dollars have left the state. You need to follow that money. Why are California taxpayer dollars being given to companies outside of California? Those monthly or weekly deposits make a difference in our communities. Part of that portion of that money must go to local businesses. I've testified before Janet Yellen and other financial institutions. Follow the money, not the hype. And those lithium batteries, they kill my sister. We have Exide and we have.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Chair, that's all of the in-person.
Thanks, Vice Chair. We'll go to online. First speaker is Leela Rao. Welcome, Leela. Go ahead, please. Leela, you're muted. Leela, you're still muted.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Cacciati and members of the board. I'm Leela Rao with the Port of Long Beach. The cooperative agreement addendum presented to you today was developed collaboratively between your staff and the ports through an extensive public process. The proposal includes new incentive-based and funding measures, defines a role for AQMD during development and implementation, and commits to an ongoing public process, enforcement penalties, and reporting during the 5-year term of the original agreement. Specifically, we will enhance our green ship incentive programs to increase program participation by the cleanest vessels, including those operating on clean marine fuels. We will develop a new incentive program to reward the use of zero-emission trucks serving the ports, and each port will allocate $20 million to AQMD to fund development of zero-emission infrastructure serving drayage trucks throughout the region. These programs will result in meaningful emission reductions from high-priority sources, reducing impact on our neighboring communities, and we encourage your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Matt Lyons from San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. Matt, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Lyons, and I'm with the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. On behalf of our members, I wanted to express our strong support for the proposed addendum. The San Gabriel Valley sits at the crossroads of Southern California's goods movement network. Every day, businesses, manufacturers, distribution centers, and workers throughout our region depend on the continued success of the ports. Their success is our success. We also know that our communities have a strong interest in cleaner air and healthier environment. The proposed addendum focuses on practical solutions and encouraging continued investment through collaboration. From the partnership's perspective, we need policies that improve air quality while protecting the jobs, businesses, and supply chains that support our regional economy. This agreement does exactly that. We appreciate the leadership of all parties involved, and on behalf of the partnership, respectfully ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Alyssa Diaz next.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. My name is Alyssa Diaz, Director of Public Policy at the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, the largest business organization in the Los Angeles region. The Chamber strongly supports the proposed addendum to the cooperative agreement between South Coast AQMD and the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. The ports are vital to our regional economy, as has been said, supporting a vast workforce across the supply chain and supporting businesses in every sector. The ports have also consistently demonstrated leadership in achieving historic emission reductions, resulting in cleaner air for our communities. The proposed addendum builds on the collaborative framework by establishing new incentive programs to accelerate cleaner vessels and zero-emission trucks. Equally important, this agreement provides a clear roadmap for implementation through public engagement, milestones, reporting, and ongoing evaluation. The Chamber recognizes that our region's economic future depends on supporting jobs and goods movement while also ensuring a more sustainable future for our region. For these reasons, we urge your support. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Lisa. Next is Elise Wallace.
Good afternoon. My name is Elise Wallace, and I'm with the American Lung Association. First, I'd like to thank South Coast AQMD staff for reviewing a resolution submitted by environmental and public health partners and for their willingness to work on resolution language. AQMD must commit to securing quantifiable emissions limits at the ports. As the federal threats on California's ability to address freight emissions loom large, now is the time for South Coast AQMD to step up and continue their longstanding leadership on local clean air issues. It is critical that the agency stays true to its mandate to protect the public's health at a time when so many of California's bedrock clean air protections are at stake. The Lung Association looks forward to working with you to reduce harmful emissions from transportation, industrial heat, and other sources throughout the basin as part of our shared mission to protect and improve health. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. Next is Al Sattler.
Hello. Good morning good afternoon to the board. My name is Al Sattler, and I'm speaking for myself. And I just want to speak to one of the points in the presentation in particular, and that is say, without specific emission reduction targets, how can you know what infrastructure is actually necessary? And having said that, I applaud additional air pollution prevention measures and realize that infrastructure is necessary in order to implement air pollution cleanup measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Next is Move LA. Move LA is next. We'll come back to you. Next is number 760 area code. 760, go ahead.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Sherry Bailey. I'm speaking from Barstow,
an inland freight community directly affected by this port cargo movement now due to the Barstow International Gateway. I support the recommendations of Earth Justice and the Environmental Coalition, and I ask that this amendment do not end the conversation at the locomotives. Just this week, my neighborhood experienced a freight train fire near our homes. Today, it's about 111 degrees in Barstow. Closing our windows is not a realistic way to avoid freight pollution. I ask for three things: enforceable locomotive commitments with funding and timelines, continued negotiations after zero emission plans are developed, and meaningful consultation with inland freight communities, including coordination with Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District and CARB. Please do not clean up the freight just at the ports by transferring its cumulative burden further inland. Barstow is a part of this freight corridor. Please include us.
Thank you, Sharon. Next is Move LA again. Go ahead. You're muted. One more time, move LA. Next, D, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry, my name is Dina Martell, and I too, like Miss Bailey, am a resident of Barstow. We're a rural disadvantaged community. We are a frontline neighborhood directly in the path of Barstow International Gateway. Many of the homes out here are private well dependent. The addendum is creating new physical activities, including 40 million in regional off-port truck infrastructure, yet the board is being asked to rely on outdated 2016 and 2022 program EIRs. Our community already facing cumulative freight impacts from big. CEQA requires those cumulative impacts to be analyzed. The program EIRs never evaluated how these new port measures interact with massive inland freight growth, affecting sensitive receptors like our well-dependent households. I urge the board to reject this CEQA determination and please protect.
Thank you, D. Thank you, D. Next is Move LA again. You're muted. Next is Todd Campbell. Todd, go ahead. Todd Campbell. Next, we'll go to Thurl Golden. Thurl, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Is that Todd?
Yeah, this is he.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Chair Cacciati and members of the board. My name is Todd Campbell, representing Clean Energy, the nation's leader in renewable natural gas transportation. We stand in strong support of the Port Cooperative Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thurl Golden.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Thurl.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. I'm here to raise the issue about no measurable outcomes for this agreement. You cannot manage nothing if you don't have the information to do it. This does not produce nor does it alleviate the historical environmental racism that's been put on certain communities. The one I live in, particularly West Long Beach. You have to have measurable outcomes. You want to use the term milestones. This does not. The current two methods that you have are not well suited for what the community needs. We need to know what is happening to us, not what has happened to someone else. It's a totally different world that we must be in going forward. And I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks for sticking around, Thurl. Last speaker is Ranji George. Go ahead, Ranji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ranji.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Ranji George. I was ex-employee in Technology Advancement Office, supervisor there. And I just want to express my deep regret that this cooperative agreement doesn't mention hydrogen in particular. You are mentioning zero emission technologies, and whenever that is happening, hydrogen is given lip service, everybody supports it, but when the budgets come and the funding is there, hydrogen is left remaining with 3% or 5% of the budget. I urge you to look into it and have a specific amount for hydrogen set aside. The reason I'm saying is this battery technology reliance is overblown. There are millions and millions of batteries that are coming into the basin, and they at one point need to be recycled. And this recycling centers will be large and huge, and it will be placed in EJ areas like Boyle Heights and Fontana and Pomona and other areas where the people have very little resistance.
Thank you, Raji. Is there, no, that's the last speaker. Board members, any more discussion? We have a motion by Supervisor Nguyen. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair McCallum. Do you want a roll call or Bay?
I think the electronics should be working now.
Okay.
If it doesn't show, then we can do a voice vote.
It's there, let's vote. Has it come up?
Here we go.
Looks like it passes 10-0. Thanks, Faye. Let's move on to the next item. Item 31.
In the interest of time, we're willing to waive presentation for this item. I'll just give a very quick overview of this. This is a good news story in that we meet some of the PM 2.5 and PM 10 ambient air quality standards. And this is just the official paperwork that we need to go through to officially designate as well as these maintenance plans together to ensure we continue to attain these standards in the future.
Second.
Is there any public comment?
No.
None online, none in the auditorium. Let's vote. Looks like it passes 10-0, 3 absent. Thank you, Sarah. That was quick. It's got to be a record. Number 32. Mike?
Good afternoon. I'll be brief in the interest of time. So the proposed amendment will define certain composting operations as essential public services. This will allow them access to our priority reserve. We analyze the impacts of the priority reserve, and with this amendment, there will be the priority reserve will remain safely funded. This proposal is supported by more than 24 entities and essentially captures the request that was made several months ago for us to address this requirement for certain of the composting facilities to deal with SB 1383. Can we go to slide 7, please? Despite the support, there are 2 key issues that remain. The first is a late request to essentially include all supporting equipment for composting operations, as well as any organic waste operations. This is a gigantic increase in what we originally evaluated. Unlike the proposal that we have for you that staff is bringing, this would in fact jeopardize our SOX offsets for the priority reserve. The priority reserve is used for other essential public services, hospitals, water, police, universities, transit, et cetera. And staff is uncomfortable at this time expanding it to that degree. The second provision is to essentially limit this access to the priority reserve for these composting operations to only public facilities. And at this time, with the cities and counties, depending on public and private partnerships, we don't feel comfortable in making that distinction that the offsets would only go to public facilities. That concludes my shortened presentation and available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? By Supervisor Mitchell? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Second by Vice Chair. We do have public comment on
We
that.
have public comment.
Okay,
We have
before
2
we,
in-house.
before we vote, then you'll take the 2 in-house.
First, we have Larissa Zawa.
Go on, Rusa.
Good afternoon, Chair Cacchiotti and board members. My name is Marissa Nizawa with LA County Sanitation District, a member agency of Clean Water SoCal. We appreciate the staff and the board for meeting with us to discuss the amended Rule 1302. We would like to reiterate our request for 3 modest revisions to support SB 1383, organic waste recycling. First, include publicly owned co-composting facilities operating under Rule 1133.2 as essential public services. Second, include publicly owned food waste recovery and recycling facility in the proposed amended rule. And third, preserve the priority reserve for publicly owned and operated facilities. Clean Water SoCal respectfully requests adoptions of the amended language we submitted. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Tony Koutroulis.
Good afternoon. Tom Petroulis, Director with Orange County Waste and Recycling. So I am here to thank the AQMD, its staff and governing board for the time and effort that has been put into the rulemaking effort. You toured our site, you met with us and our industry partners, listened to our concerns, and worked collaboratively to develop a practical solution. I'd like to personally thank Wayne and his team for taking the time to meet with us on the proposed language before you and any consideration on additional language. This amendment will better align AQMD's permitting framework with California's organics recycling goals, allow our industry to continue investing in essential infrastructure that benefits our environment and the communities we serve. We appreciate your partnership and look forward to welcoming you to a ribbon cutting at this important project begin serving Orange County. So thank you again for your engagement, collaboration, and consideration.
That's it, Larry. Okay, we move to online. David Rothbart. David with Clean Water SoCal. Go ahead, David.
Good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. David Rothbart representing Clean Water SoCal. We met with most of the board members, so hopefully I can keep this short and sweet. Just want to reiterate what Marissa was saying. Thank you for meeting with us. Our request is to include co-composting facilities under 1133.2. Also include publicly owned organic waste recovery and recycling facilities. These facilities are really important to remove contaminants in food waste before you could compost or anaerobically digested wastewater treatment plants. And last but not least, to potentially avoid unintended consequences. Right now, the way staff has drafted the rule, green waste composting, food waste composting can be very odorous. It could cause nuisance odors. And our perspective is the public facilities are probably better suited to minimize that. And that's the derivation for saying public facilities really should be rewarded and directed to do this as much as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Allison Torres. Allison, go ahead, please. You're muted.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Torres, and I work with Eastern Municipal Water District. EMWD is a water, wastewater, and recycled water agency in Southwest Riverside County, and we provide essential public services to nearly 1 million people. On behalf of EMWD, we do appreciate South Coast staff and the governing board for bringing forward proposed amended Rule 1302. We support the proposed amendments and the overall intent, but we do request a few revisions to the proposed language to better align the rule with the California organics diversion mandates while still preserving the original purpose of the priority reserve. As mentioned by the previous speakers, we support their comments. EMWD is a member of Clean Water SoCal, and we support the written and verbal comments provided to staff and the board on this topic. If the rule is adopted as proposed today, we do request the board direct staff to reopen the rule to consider the above revisions that were requested by Clean Water SoCal. Thank you for considering our comments and for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Allison. Bill Quinn.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Bill Quinn with SEED, the California Council for Environmental and Economic Balance. We support the staff proposal, including allowing access to the priority reserve for both public and private facilities. So for these reasons, we ask for your support of the proposal. Thank you.
Jennifer McMullen.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer McMullen, and I'm representing Western Municipal Water District, a member agency of Clean Water SoCal. Western Municipal Water District is one of the largest public agencies in Riverside County, providing water, wastewater, and recycled water services to nearly 1 million people in Western Riverside County. We support the proposed amendments with the revisions that Clean Water SoCal and the previous speakers shared today, specifically to include publicly owned composting facilities subject to Rule 1133.2 and 1133.3, and to preserve the priority reserved for essential public agencies. Thank you for your consideration of these revisions and proposed rule amendments.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our final speaker is Steve Jepson.
Hello, Chair Cacchiotti and members of the governing board. I'm Steve Jepson, Executive Director for Clean Water SoCal. We represent 80 public water wastewater agencies, many located in South Coast AQMD. Clean Water SoCal supports the comments made by David Rothbart and other Clean Water SoCal members. Our members request 3 revisions. 1, include publicly owned co-composting facilities operating under Rule 1133.2 as an essential public service. 2, include publicly owned organic waste recovery and recycling facilities that are essential for food waste diversion. 3, revise Rule 1302 to define publicly owned and operated compost facilities as an essential public service. Clean Water SoCal requests adoption of the rule language we provided that addresses these 3 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. That concludes public comment portion. I have some board members who want to speak. Supervisor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to again thank AQMD staff, Wayne, and everyone involved for the collaboration throughout this process. We appreciate it. Appreciate the staff for meeting with us, engaging in with all the stakeholders involved, and working collaboratively to reach this resolution or the solution. I again especially want to thank the AQMD board members, our chair and vice chair, who took the time to tour the operation at the Bowerman landfill with myself, Mayor Rodriguez, our Orange County Chairman, Supervisor Doug Chafee, and just seeing the firsthand why this issue is so important to Orange County. This amendment represents meaningful progress and helps better align AQMD with the state's SB 1383 organics recycling goals. And so I will be supporting this item. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor Rodriguez.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Supervisor Nguyen. This is an important priority for the County of Orange and the cities served throughout Orange County. And we do appreciate the timely resolution of this. Being able to move forward here today on this important matter took a lot of effort and collaboration. So this again demonstrates how our staff team can work with not only the private sector, but the public sector in this case. And we certainly couldn't have made the progress not only with staff, but also the efforts of Chair Cacchiotti, Vice Chair McCallum, and it was noteworthy of Supervisor Nguyen's leadership, and also having Chair Chafee also attend that tour and that roundtable discussion to kick things off to get here today. So I do appreciate how with this designation, again, this is going to be a best practice that can be leading to a more timely, efficient, and effective process of compost processing. So we'll be supporting this matter and do appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And finally, Board Member Padilla-Campos.
Thank you. I definitely support the rule, but was wondering if you can address the Clean Water SoCal amendment. And I'm also curious if my fellow board members, I wasn't clear if they're accepting of that amendment or not, but just was curious to know if you can react to that.
So we did meet with Clean Water SoCal, and it is a very broadening of the provisions for what we're doing for 1302. There's no public process that's associated with that. I think that if it was the private entities that are saying that they want something, within, within 2 weeks, I think they would ask for a public process. So I don't want to shortcut that public process. We need to have the public process. There's much more data that we need to have. We need to understand what the impacts are to the bank. If we were to deplete the bank or, really dig into that bank, our concern is that we would run into a permit moratorium. So our recommendation is that we can go back and work with them. We need more information to understand the magnitude of this. It needs to be a full public process with all entities that would be involved.
So after doing that process, we can come back and make adjustments. So
Well, let's see what the
Right.
results of the data.
if needed, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, board member. Any more questions? No questions? I'll entertain a motion. Supervisor, oh, sorry. So she moved it. Who seconded it? Okay, supervisor, two supervisors, first and second. Roll call, please. There we go. Vote yes, lock in. Passes 11-0, absent. Before we move on, Councilmember Nazarian had to step out for a moment. But Councilmember, for the record, did you want to make any comments about the last 30 and 31 or?
On the previous 30-31, I was gonna support the motions, but I don't need to complicate and have it opened up. If it's an easy way of just registering my support, happy to do so.
So is that good just for the minutes?
Yeah, we can make that notation in the minutes.
That he supported those matters 30 and 31, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Next, Heather.
Actually, if, in the interest of time, we can offer to waive presentation on this one as well.
Is that okay? Wait, presentation, go ahead. Any questions, board members?
Move the item.
Moved by Vice Chair, is there a second?
I'll second.
Senator seconds it. Senator Delgado. Is there any public comment in the auditorium, Larry?
No.
None online? Let's all vote. Faye? Did everybody vote? We've got 7 votes. Looks like we've got 9 yes. Is there more than 3, 4, 5, 10? Toucher stepped up for a moment. Does he want to vote on this? I think Doctor stepped out. So, okay, we've got 10 yes. It passes, 3 absent. That concludes the regular agenda. Bay, do you have any